Chapter 5709. Dongyue Shui stomped young Lord Ba Fei to death with a single stomp, shocking everyone present. After all, that was the young Lord Ba Fei. He was the favorite younger brother of the Tyrant Sky Emperor, and the only king in the Tyrant Sky Empire who was allowed to own a private army. However, such a prominent figure had been stomped to death by Dongyue Shui. Piercing the heavens, someone's voice trembled. It was not hard to imagine that the Tyrant Sky Emperor knew that his younger brother had been stomped to death by Dongyue Shui. The enraged Tyrant Sky Emperor would definitely launch an all-out war against the East Moon Empire, fighting to the death. Over the past several thousand years, the tyrannical Heaven Empire and the East Moon Empire had only engaged in small skirmishes. Even when a war broke out, it was only a small-scale war. That was because everyone knew that once an all-out war broke out between these two empires, there would definitely be no winner. Both sides would suffer great losses, and they would be swallowed up by other forces that were eyeing them covetously. Whether it was the overlord of the East Moon Empire or the overlord of the Tyrant Sky Emperor, neither of them was willing to see their empire be annexed by another force. However, things were different now. Tyrant Fei was dead, and he was stomped to death by Dongyue Shui in front of everyone. No one could guess what kind of outrageous things the enraged, overbearing Sky Sovereign would do. "Are you satisfied now?" Wang Zhan told Dongyue Shui. "Not bad. I finally vented my anger." Dongyue Shui let out a long sigh. Ba Fei was truly despicable. He actually wanted to capture her and make her his feet-washing servant. This made the great princess extremely displeased. Moreover, Ba Fei had even planned several assassinations against the East Moon Overlord. This fellow was despicable, shameless, and unscrupulous. Such a person could not be allowed to return to the tyrannical Sky Empire alive. With Fatty and Wang Zhan's help, Dongyue Shui really did not have to worry about Overlord Tyrant Sky Sovereign. After all, the two of them were impressive people who could face infinite primes head-on. Dongyue Shui would never be able to forget what had happened in the square yesterday. Everyone lay on the ground and trembled before the might of an infinite prime. However, there were only Fatty and Wang Zhan. Only they could still stand proudly in the square. Even the supreme might of an infinite prime was unable to make them kneel. Even infinite primes were unable to strike fear into their hearts. The tyrannical Sky Empire was nothing in the eyes of such a person. "We should go." Wang Zhan looked at the sky and said. At this moment, Wang Zhan had already found the confidence he had lost. He was no longer weak, he was no longer dispirited, he no longer felt sorry for himself, because he was no longer the same as before, because he had his own confidence. At the moment, Gu Fei's spiritual force was still attached to Wang Zhan's body. "Kill them all," Dongyue Shui calmly ordered. "Wait, do you know who we are?" The leader of the dozen or so sword cultivators roared at Dongyue Shui with a stern expression. "Tisk, why would I care who you are?" Dongyue Shui didn't care at all. "Preposterous. We are the outer sect disciples of the Infinite Sword Sect. If you kill us, the Infinite Sword Sect will definitely avenge us. The Sword Sect can't be insulted. I won't rest until I die." When these Sword Dao cultivators saw that Dongyue Shui was really going to kill them, they were all shocked and terrified. They couldn't sit still anymore, because they didn't want to die. "Haha, you still won't rest until you're dead?" Dongyue Shui laughed. Even Swordmaster Dongyu was beaten away. Even 1,000 or 10,000 outer sect disciples can't compare to a single Swordmaster Dongyu. What a joke. Even Swordmaster Dongyu's brother died in Flying Cloud City. Who do you think you are? To hell with the Infinite Sword Sect. Dongyue Shui's subordinate sneered. The group of Sword Dao cultivators were terrified. "What are you waiting for?" Dongyue Shui was getting impatient. "Kill." Dongyue Shui's newly subdued subordinates immediately killed the Sword Dao cultivators and the big guy who were kneeling on the ground. These captives were no longer of value to Dongyue Shui. At this moment, Wang Zhan waved his right hand, and the giant seal floating above the Flying Cloud City immediately shrunk rapidly. The light barrier that enveloped the entire Flying Cloud City also retreated like a tide, and instantly disappeared into the giant seal. The chaos seal flew towards Wang Zhan and hovered above his right palm. Chaotic chi swirled around, and mysterious patterns of the way intertwined around the seal. A powerful aura of the Great Path surged out from the seal. The aura of the Great Path was not very strong, but the surrounding people felt like they were bathing in the Great Path. They became extremely clear-headed, and their cultivation showed signs of breaking through. Some people even heard the divine voice of the Great Path. This, a supreme treasure. If only I could have it. The surrounding people were extremely jealous. This item was definitely at the infinite grade. If they could use this seal to cultivate, they would definitely be able to achieve twice the results with half the effort. Some people even thought of killing Yi Futyan for the treasure. Of course, these people were only thinking about it. No one dared to do anything at that moment. This was a supreme Tao item left behind by a supreme existence at the infinite prime realm. At that moment, everyone was extremely curious as to how Wang Zhan could obtain this supreme Tao item. Even Dongyue Shuer and the others' eyeballs almost fell to the ground. Only the fatty was not too surprised when he saw this. He only looked at Wang Zhan thoughtfully. "Let's go." Dongyue Shuer did not dare to ask and took to the air herself. Then, 4 peak Earthrealm cultivators carried a palanquin and flew into the air. Naturally, the palanquin contained Wang Zhan's family. The others also flew into the air and followed Dongyue Shuer out of Flying Cloud City. Wang Zhan and the fatty followed behind unhurriedly. The Chaos Seal had already been absorbed into Wang Zhan's body. He wanted to use the seal's power to nourish his body and make it even stronger. In the infinite realm, only the strong could obtain everything they wanted. Wang Zhan really wanted to become stronger as soon as possible. Just as Dongyue Shuer and the others left Flying Cloud City, Gu Fei was in the Extreme Emperor Palace chatting happily with Extreme Emperor Wuchu. "Master." At that moment, Yuan Gu walked in from the outside. "Fellow Taoist, excuse me for a moment." Extreme Emperor Wuchu stood up and smiled. Of course. Gu Fei picked up the cup of tea in front of him and took a sip. This was Hongming tea, which was even rarer than the Enlightenment tea. The fragrance of the tea could make an ordinary person immune to all diseases and increase their lifespan by a few hundred years. On the jade table before him were all sorts of immortal fruits. Any one of them was something Gu Fei could not find even after countless years of searching. However, these immortal fruits and immortal herbs of immortality were used by the beginning Extreme Emperor as food for his guests. However, the moment the Extreme Emperor stepped out of the Extreme Emperor's palace, the entire palace began to shake violently. "Ha ha!" Extreme Emperor Wuchu's proud laughter could be heard from outside. Gu Fei was both shocked and enraged. At this moment, he realized he was trapped in the palace. Countless formation runes appeared in the air and intertwined into countless formation patterns. Powerful infinite realm energy exploded. In the palace he was in instantly turned into a prison that could imprison an infinite prime. "You dare scheme against me?" Gu Fei was enraged. "Haha, so what if I scheme against you? It's not like I haven't schemed against people like you before. Those people's souls have already dispersed, leaving only their origin energy that I refined into a part of my own power." Extreme Emperor Wuchu laughed. What? Gu Fei did not expect Extreme Emperor Wuchu to be so devious and ruthless. He specialized in plotting against infinite primes. This person was too terrifying. Chapter 57:10. Haha. The limitless emperor's arrogant laughter could be heard from outside. At this time, the entire Extreme Emperor Palace had turned into a terrifying cage, trapping Gu Fei within. Gu Fei sat cross-legged in the air and opened his unbounded heaven's eye. A beam of purple gold light appeared from between his eyebrows and scanned his surroundings. Under the gaze of the purple gold heaven's eye, countless Tao inscriptions appeared in the air. These Tao inscriptions intertwined to form terrifying killing arrays. The layers of killing arrays trapped Gu Fei inside. What a guy! Gu Fei couldn't help but admire this limitless Extreme Emperor. This guy actually built such an awesome prison. This kind of method was indeed beyond his imagination. He didn't expect there to be someone even crazier than Sacred Lord Su Tian. Gu Fei scanned his surroundings with his unbounded heaven's eye and saw through the true nature of the prison. The layers of killing arrays were all boundless grade. Moreover, Every Tao inscription that formed the array was boundless great. Even the Tao treasures that guarded the eye of the array were boundless great. Everything was boundless great. The extreme Emperor Palace had already disappeared. The magnificent pavilions had turned into a horrifying purgatory where earth, water, fire, and wind wreaked havoc everywhere. In the limitless Emperor's territory, countless sacred mountains in the sky shot out beams of light. These sacred mountains were also part of the array. The beams of light entered the purgatory in the sky. These sacred mountains had boundless grade spirit-gathering arrays. These spirit-gathering arrays were providing heaven and earth spiritual chi to the purgatory. Beneath this world was the ancestral vein of the endless realms east. One had to admit that the limitless Emperor was too ruthless. He used the power of the East ancestral vein to refine the boundless realm trapped in the purgatory in the sky. This was all part of the limitless Emperor's meticulous plan. Even before Gu Fei opened his peerless heaven's eye, he couldn't see through this place. He never thought that the sacred ground created by the peerless heaven's eye was actually a super array. It wasn't that he had let his guard down, but he hadn't expected the extreme Emperor of the East Pole to do such a despicable thing. Congratulations on obtaining another boundless Tao fruit, Master. Outside the purgatory prison, Yuan Gu and the other disciples congratulated the limitless Emperor respectfully. Yuan Gu and the others were also very happy. Since their master was eating meat, they could also get some soup. Their master only wanted the other party's Wuji Dao fruit. He did not care about anything else. The antiques of the infinite primes had a very rich collection. Haha, after this is done, you will all be rewarded. Extreme Emperor Peerless was very happy. He had schemed for countless years, casting down this terrifying purgatory-killing formation that could even refine infinite primes to death. He wanted to kill infinite primes and steal their origin of ways. Moreover, he had succeeded a few times before this. Otherwise, how could he have broken through to the supreme heaven realm? This was Extreme Emperor Peerless' secret, a secret that could rapidly increase one's cultivation. Others thought that he had broken through to the supreme heaven realm through cultivation, but no one expected him to increase his own cultivation by devouring other people's Wuji Dao fruit. What was the difference between this kind of behavior and evil? You bastard, you're an infinite prime emperor. How can you be so despicable? Aren't you afraid of being laughed at by the world? Gu Fei sat in the purgatory prison, his body glowing with the divine light of the great path, blocking all the destructive power. He was fine for now. Laughed at by the world? Haha. The beginning Extreme Emperor laughed even more wildly when he heard this. Our master is a great hero in front of the world. That's right. Our master has unparalleled prestige in the East Pole. He is a leader of the righteous path. Yuan Gu and the others said solemnly. I see. Gu Fei understood. Extreme Emperor Peerless was a two-faced person. On one side, he was a leader of the righteous path, but on the other side, he was a terrifying demon. It seemed like he was a very cautious person. This place is isolated from the world. Who would know that I killed you here? Extreme Emperor Peerless was very pleased. It was not easy to kill an infinite prime in the infinite realm. To Extreme Emperor Peerless, killing an infinite prime was an achievement. Damn it! Gu Fei was truly enraged. Powerful infinite power erupted from his body, blocking the destructive power that was surging towards him from all directions. However, the purgatory prison's power continued to increase. Haha, you're just struggling. Your fate was decided the moment you stepped into this sacred land. Extreme Emperor Peerless said proudly, My fate is up to me. You're just an extreme emperor, and you want to take my life? You want to take my origin? Dream on. Gu Fei pointed his middle finger at Extreme Emperor Peerless. Hee, then you can slowly enjoy the pain of having your soul refined in there. Extreme Emperor Peerless activated all the formations in the sacred land. Boundless power from the ancestral veins of the earth was forcefully gathered by the formations. Rumble. The entire sacred land shook. The land that Extreme Emperor Peerless had created seemed like it was about to collapse. The power of the entire sacred land gathered towards the center of the purgatory prison. A dragon's roar could be heard from the depths of the earth. The earth dragon turned, and the ancestral veins of the earth were released. A huge dragon silhouette emerged from each of the divine mountains. These dragon silhouettes charged directly towards the center of the formation. The dragon shadow passed through the void and the formations, breaking through Gu Fei's defensive power and wrapping around Gu Fei's body. This was the dragon shadow formed from the ancestral veins of the easternmost grounds. Gu Fei's bones almost broke when the dragon shadow wrapped around him. So powerful. Gu Fei finally understood how terrifying the power of heaven and earth of the infinite realm was. It was no wonder it was the highest level of the infinite realm. No wonder Extreme Emperor Peerless had the ability to refine infinite primes. It really wasn't difficult for him to kill an infinite prime with the power of the ancestral veins of the earth. But so what? Even sacred leader Su Tian couldn't kill me back then. Do you think Extreme Emperor Peerless can? Gu Fei didn't have his current cultivation back then. Gu Fei thought to himself, I want to see what you're up to. He gave up resisting and pretended to be no match for the ancestral veins of the earth. His entire body was crushed by the dragon shadows and turned into a bloody mist. Within the blood mist, a ball of divine light was faintly discernible. Origin of the Great Path? Extreme Emperor Peerless was surprised and overjoyed when he saw this. The ancestral veins of the easternmost grounds were extremely powerful. Normal infinite primes couldn't fight against them. But even so, Extreme Emperor Peerless still felt that Gu Fei was too weak. He was strangled to death by the dragon shadows. Of course, Gu Fei wasn't dead yet. Soul-destroying formation. Activate. Extreme Emperor Peerless yelled, and the entire formation changed. A terrifying soul-destroying power engulfed Gu Fei's origin of the Great Path. At this moment, Extreme Emperor Peerless used the soul-destroying formation at full force. The terrifying soul-destroying light swept across, and the blurry figure inside Gu Fei's origin of the Great Path disappeared. Much easier than I expected. Extreme Emperor Peerless was slightly surprised when he saw this. He didn't expect someone who could defeat an infinite prime at the initial stage of the Earth realm to be killed so quickly. One had to admit that this guy was very careful. He used the soul-destroying formation to sweep across Gu Fei's origin of the Great Path over a dozen times before dispersing the formation. Extreme Emperor Peerless waved his right hand, and Gu Fei's origin of the Great Path flew into his hand. Haha. Chapter 57:11. Gu Fei did not expect one of the 5 overlords of the Limitless Realm, the Extreme East Limitless Emperor, to be such a cunning and despicable person. This really refreshed Gu Fei's worldview. It was unbelievable that the Extreme Emperor of the Limitless Realm had such a dark side to him. Was there no bottom line in order to increase one's cultivation level and breakthrough? Gu Fei could not do that. He had a bottom line. He would not attack others if they did not attack him. If they attacked him, they would have to bear the consequences. Gu Fei had also refined the source energy of other experts before. However, those people were people who wanted to kill him. If they wanted to kill him, why would he hold back? Gu Fei had never thought of himself as a saint. The world was fair. At least in his heart, there was a principle of fairness. Therefore, he did not forget his original intentions. However, the Extreme Emperor's actions had crossed Gu Fei's bottom line. This limitless Extreme Emperor didn't know what was right or wrong and wanted to kill Gu Fei right away. This shocked and angered Gu Fei. One could only say that the Extreme Emperor of the Limitless Realm was ruthless and unscrupulous in order to increase his cultivation level. Limitless Extreme the Arch had opened up a huge array in the void. He had dug a trap and lured Gu Fei into it. Then, he had found an excuse to leave and attack Gu Fei. All of this had been arranged in advance. It was terrifying to think about. At this point, the Extreme Emperor placed Gu Fei's origin of Tao in the deepest part of the treasure vault. I just refined 2 origin energies of the Limitless Realm not too long ago. It looks like I'll have to wait a while before I can refine another one. The Extreme Emperor looked at the origin of Tao in front of him and drooled. Other than Gu Fei's origin of Tao, there were 2 other origin energies of the Limitless Realm. These were the purest and strongest origin energies of the Limitless Realm. Master, when can I take that half step? Yuan Gu, who was behind the Extreme Emperor of the Limitless Realm, suddenly asked. What's the rush? The Extreme Emperor said calmly. Yuan Gu was very talented in cultivation. He was already at the half-step limitless realm. He was only half a step away from the true limitless realm. He was very jealous of the Infinity Emperor's collection of Infinity Tao sources of the Great Path. However, he did not have the fortune to enjoy the origin of the Great Path, because it was an unbounded origin of the Great Path. The ripples of the origin of the Great Path had already been sealed by the unbounded Emperor. If the origin of the Great Path was exposed to Yuan Gu, even if he was a half-step, boundless realm cultivator, he would still be destroyed by the energy fluctuations of the origin of the Great Path. His body and soul would be destroyed. This was a true origin of ways at the infinite level. Only infinite primes could approach it. As the eldest disciple of the Extreme Emperor, Yuan Gu was his most trusted subordinate. In the entire Extreme Emperor Palace, only Yuan Gu had the right to enter the treasure pavilion. Not to mention entering the treasury, even getting close to the treasury would put them in danger of triggering the restrictive formation and losing their lives. The treasure pavilion contained countless rare treasures that the Infinity Emperor had obtained. There were even a few Infinity Tao treasures hidden on the highest level of the treasure pavilion. Yuan Gu lowered his head and did not dare to speak again. His cultivation had been stuck at half-step infinite prime for a very long time, and he still had not broken through to true infinite prime. He was rather anxious. Remember that he wasn't the only disciple of the ultimate emperor. All these years, the other disciples' cultivation levels had increased by quite a bit. If the other disciples caught up to him in terms of cultivation level, then it would be very embarrassing for him as the first senior brother. All right, let's go. After putting away Gu Fei's origin of the Great Path, the Extreme Emperor waved his sleeves and a ball of divine light enveloped the Extreme Emperor and Yuan Gu. The two of them disappeared into the void. Inside the treasure pavilion, all sorts of treasures emitted resplendent divine lights. The lights were multicolored and extremely gorgeous, especially the three Infinity Tao origins. Even though they had been sealed by the Extreme Emperor, they were still as bright as three suns. The light emitted from the top of the treasure pavilion lit up half the sky. Gu Fei's origin of the Great Path was purple gold, and it was the brightest of the three Infinity Tao origins. The other two Infinity Tao origins were much weaker. Time passed, and the treasure pavilion was extremely quiet. Soon, more than 20 hours passed. Without any warning, the Extreme Emperor suddenly appeared at the top of the treasure pavilion. He stared at Gu Fei's origin of the Great Path for a while before leaving. This guy is really cautious. A blurry figure appeared from the depths of Gu Fei's origin of the Great Path. The Extreme Emperor wanted to refine Gu Fei's primordial spirit, but he didn't know that Gu Fei had cultivated the 9 secrets of the immortal path. How could his primordial spirit be so easily refined? Even if Gu Fei's primordial spirit was destroyed, it could still reform. He was only pretending to be refined by the Extreme Emperor. The Extreme Emperor wanted to trick Gu Fei, but wasn't Gu Fei also trying to trick the Extreme Emperor? One shouldn't have the intention to harm others, but one must always be on guard. This was the reason why Gu Fei could make it this far. He looked like he wasn't on guard against the Extreme Emperor, but he was actually prepared for the worst. Gu Fei's primordial spirit reformed, and a faint figure appeared from the origin of the Great Path. The next moment, the origin of the Great Path disappeared. In the blink of an eye, Gu Fei used the origin of the Great Path to reconstruct his physical body. As long as the origin of the Great Path existed, Gu Fei could instantly revive with his current cultivation level. Haha, you dare to trick me? Gu Fei looked at the treasures around him and almost laughed out loud. I'll make you bleed today. Wu Chu, this fellow is simply deranged. When Gu Fei saw the two origin of the Great Path, he couldn't help but be shocked. The Extreme Emperor really did kill at least 2 infinite primes. Haha, now I'm the one getting lucky. Gu Fei waved his hand and took the 2 origin of the Great Path. Roar. The moment Gu Fei took the 2 origin of the Great Path, an angry roar came from the Extreme Emperor Palace. The entire Extreme King Palace was shaking. Master, what's wrong? Everyone in the Holy Land felt a terrifying aura shrouding the entire Holy Land in an instant. Everyone was terrified to the extreme. At this time, on the top floor of the treasure pavilion, Gu Fei waved his hand and directly stored all the Taoist treasures on the top floor of the treasure pavilion into his inner world. The beginning Extreme Emperor's figure appeared on the top floor of the treasure chamber. He was dumbfounded when he saw Gu Fei. You want to kill me and take my origin of the Great Path? Do you think you can do that? Gu Fei laughed coldly. The Extreme Emperor looked at the empty top floor of the treasury and almost vomited blood. The top floor of the treasury was filled with the most precious treasures he had ever collected in his life. Someone had taken everything, including the two origin of the Great Path. Boom! While the Extreme Emperor was still in shock, Gu Fei punched the floor of the treasury. Rumble. In the next moment, the entire treasury exploded. All the treasures in the treasury were turned to dust by Gu Fei's attack. This was Gu Fei's full strength. There was no treasure that could block Gu Fei's punch. Roar. Chapter 57:12. In the East Pole, inside the treasury of the Extreme Emperor's palace, Gu Fei rebuilt his physical body and cleared out all the treasures on the top floor of the treasury. When Limitless Extreme Emperor arrived, Gu Fei blasted the entire treasure house apart with a single punch. All the treasures in the treasure house were turned into dust. This time around, the Limitless Extreme Emperor was truly going crazy. His entire life's treasures were destroyed just like that. At this moment, Gu Fei opened his mouth and inhaled, and the spiritual qi released by the countless treasures that were crushed into dust immediately gathered towards him. I'm going to kill you. The Ultimate Emperor roared and threw a punch at Gu Fei. Boom, boom, boom. The world shook. The Ultimate Emperor's fist energy exploded and shook the earth. Oh, you're angry? Gu Fei leaped into the air and dashed out, dodging the punch of the Limitless Extreme Emperor. Die. The Extreme the Arch of Beginning chased after him and punched again. This time, the fist energy turned into a huge dragon that lunged at Gu Fei. The explosive fist energy caused the surrounding space to crack. This is the price you have to pay for plotting against me. Gu Fei moved quickly in the air. Though the Ultimate Emperor's fist energy was violent, it could not even touch the corner of his clothes. The Ultimate Emperor did not say a word and continued to attack Gu Fei like a madman. This time, he had really suffered a great loss. All the treasures he had collected in his life were gone, especially the two origins of the infinite realm. He had spent a lot of effort to kill two infinite primes and obtain two origins of the infinite realm. The Ultimate Emperor did not expect Gu Fei to be so difficult to deal with. Regular infinite primes would not be able to withstand his destructive formation. Their primordial spirit would be refined, and only the origin of the Great Path would be left. This guy's primordial spirit was clearly refined. Why was he still alive? The beginning Extreme Monarch was both shocked and furious. It's just a treasure pavilion. Can't you just rebuild one? Gu Fei laughed coldly as he dodged Limitless Extreme Emperor's attack. Limitless Extreme Emperor was enraged. This fella took advantage of him, and yet he was still trying to act innocent. He was so angry that he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. What you? Do you think I'm someone you can trick? Gu Fei disappeared in an instant. A palm suddenly appeared and slapped the enraged Limitless Emperor across the face without any struggle. This unexpected slap stunned the Extreme the Arch of the beginning Extreme the Arch. A palm print appeared on the beginning Extreme Emperor's face. For an existence like the Ultimate Emperor of the beginning, if he was injured, it wouldn't be so easy to heal. This was because only the power of the Ultimate Path could injure him. Does it feel good? Gu Fei appeared in the distance. The Extreme the Arch of Beginning felt a burning pain on his left cheek. In the next moment, he went berserk. He was going crazy. Kaboom! The entire Extreme Emperor Palace shook violently. Every sacred mountain in the sky began to glow again. The power of the Extreme East Ancestral Array was being activated. Do you think you can escape from me in my territory? Limitless Emperor roared. Is that so? Then I'll see. Gu Fei smiled. What's happening? At this time, the entire Extreme Emperor Palace was in an uproar. All of Limitless Emperor's disciples rushed out in fear. Treasure Pavilion. It's gone? Very quickly, someone realized that the Treasure Pavilion had disappeared. What a hole in the sky! Yuan Gu and the others felt their scalps go numb. That was the treasure pavilion, the place where their master hid his treasures. It was a forbidden place in the Extreme Emperor Palace. In the entire Extreme Emperor Palace, only Limitless Emperor and Big Brother Yuan Gu had the right to enter the treasure pavilion. Everyone else, even Limitless Emperor's direct disciple, was not allowed to enter the treasure pavilion. If they died, they would die for nothing. Yet, the forbidden place of the Extreme Emperor Palace had disappeared. Someone had dared to destroy the treasure pavilion. When Yuan Gu and the others saw that it was Gu Fei fighting their master, they were all shocked. Wasn't this guy's soul destroyed by master? How is that possible? Limitless Emperor's direct disciples were dumbfounded. No wonder their master was going crazy. Hide, Yuan Gu said as he turned around and fled. This was a real battle between peerless powers. Even a half-step peerless prime Yuan Gu would be killed if he was caught in the crossfire. Limitless Emperor's direct disciples saw their big brother running away. Why didn't they run? Were they just going to wait for their deaths? The others also hurriedly ran away. Very quickly, there was no one left in the Extreme Emperor Palace. Everyone had escaped. At this time, the Extreme Emperor Palace's Great Array was activated. The sacred mountains in the sky were all glowing brightly. The power of the ancestral Earth Meridian had been drawn in. Terrifying energy filled every inch of the void. At that moment, a figure charged straight towards a sacred mountain. Boom! With a loud bang, the entire sacred mountain was destroyed by this person. The entire sacred mountain exploded. Countless sacred lights exploded. It was like a huge firework had appeared in the sky. It was dazzling. As the sacred mountain exploded, countless inscriptions disappeared into the void. Damn it! Limitless Emperor, who was chasing after him, saw this scene and was fuming. Go, 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 go! Gu Fei shouted all the way as he charged towards the divine mountains floating in the sky. A series of loud noises immediately rang out in the sky as the divine mountains were directly smashed by him. The power of the Extreme Emperor Palace's Great Array was decreasing as the sacred mountains were destroyed by Gu Fei. Gu Fei's speed was so fast that even the beginning Extreme Arch couldn't catch up to him. His movement technique was the fastest in the world, and it was not just for show. Roar! Limitless Emperor was furious. He roared and attacked. However, he could not even touch the corner of Gu Fei's robe, let alone kill Gu Fei. Haha, I will destroy your nest. Let's see if you can still be so cocky. Gu Fei laughed as he moved quickly in the void. He kept destroying the sacred mountains in the sky. Countless inscriptions disappeared, and the ancestral Earth Meridian's power weakened. Finally, he plunged into the ultimate formation eye of this space. You're courting death. Limitless Emperor roared and exploded the array eye. However, the array eye did not explode. Gu Fei had already made his move. Tao of Truth. Gu Fei, who had pounced into the ultimate formation eye, let out a furious roar and directly used one of the 9 secrets of Immortal Tao, the Returning Truth secret technique. As soon as the secret technique was used, the formation runes in the ultimate formation eye were immediately obliterated by the secret technique. Countless inscriptions disappeared into the void under the power of the secret technique of truth. All the energy around Gu Fei was instantly refined into the purest spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Then, he absorbed it. Under Gu Fei's force of truth, countless palaces and sacred mountains crumbled. In the blink of an eye, half of the Extreme Emperor Palace was dissolved by Gu Fei's force of truth. Pfft. Chapter 57:13. Gu Fei didn't show any mercy to the Infinity Emperor. Since this guy wanted to kill him and steal his origin of the Great Path, he had to be prepared to face the consequences. You bastard! The Infinity Emperor roared. Every time he threw a punch, the power of the punch would turn into the shadow of a dragon that lunged at Gu Fei. The power of the punch was like a wild dragon, unstoppable and overbearing. However, the moment the power approached Gu Fei, it was instantly dissolved and converted into the most primitive spiritual energy of the world for him to absorb. The space around Gu Fei turned into a domain. He moved quickly and dodged the Infinity Emperor's direct attack. Boom! Another loud sound rang out, and another divine mountain was blasted apart by Gu Fei. It was as if a brilliant firework had bloomed in the sky. Amidst the explosion of divine light, countless formation patterns dissipated. The Extreme Emperor of the beginning Extreme Emperor almost spat out another mouthful of blood when he saw this. In order to trap and kill the other infinite primes, he had spent so much effort to cast down this supreme formation, yet this guy had destroyed it just like that? The Infinity Emperor had spent an immeasurable amount of time and effort to set up this killing formation. This was also the reason why he vomited blood when he saw Gu Fei destroy the super killing formation. It was because the super killing formation was extremely important to him. If Gu Fei really destroyed this killing formation, he didn't even know if he could set up another one. Haha, I haven't felt this good in a long time. Gu Fei roared with laughter as he charged toward another mountain. He was having a lot of fun, but the beginning Extreme Emperor was furious. Fist of the Extreme Sky. The Infinity Emperor had no choice but to use the strongest fist technique he had recently created. This was a heaven-level fist technique. At his level of cultivation, he had to create all techniques himself. The Skyline Divine Fist was a fist technique that he had created after his cultivation had broken through to the extreme heaven realm. However, this fist technique was only in its embryonic form. Even someone as strong as the limitless Extreme Emperor, with his initial heaven-level cultivation, could only manage to throw out a single punch. At this time, he couldn't just watch as his painstaking efforts were destroyed by the other party. He could only take a risk and kill this hateful guy with a single punch. The beginning Extreme Emperor made a fist move. In the next moment, all the energy of heaven and earth gathered on his fist. Even the power of the ancestral earth vein in the easternmost pole had been activated by him. What? Gu Fei sensed the changes in this part of the world and couldn't help but be shocked. It was as if the entire world and the void had frozen in an instant. It was as if someone had cast a body-fixing spell on him, and he was fixed in the void. The fist had yet to be unleashed, but an extremely tyrannical force had already enveloped this part of the world. Under the shroud of this power, everything froze. What a terrifying fist technique! Gu Fei couldn't help but be shocked. The power of this fist technique was beyond his imagination. After all, he was at the initial Earth tier. Even though he was a realm lower than the limitless Extreme Emperor, he couldn't possibly be restrained by his opponent's power. It could only be said that the limitless Extreme Emperor's fist technique was extremely powerful. Even the anti-void secret technique couldn't dispel the restraining force. Just as the fist was about to be unleashed, Gu Fei gritted his teeth and unleashed the Ascension secret technique and the Extreme Breaking secret technique. In the next moment, an extremely powerful force exploded from his body. Buzz! The void trembled, and a few divine mountains near Gu Fei instantly exploded, turning into dust. At the same time, Gu Fei broke through the restraining force. However, just as he regained his mobility, his opponent's fist came flying towards him. The limitless Extreme Emperor's seemingly gentle punch sent chills down Gu Fei's spine. He sensed extreme danger. In the end, Gu Fei couldn't completely dodge the limitless Extreme Emperor's punch. Bam! The limitless Extreme Emperor's punch landed on Gu Fei's left shoulder. In the next moment, Gu Fei's left shoulder exploded, and he was flung across the sky. A mist of blood erupted, and the smell of blood permeated the air. Even with Gu Fei's cultivation level and physique, he couldn't withstand the limitless Extreme Emperor's punch. It couldn't be helped. The power of this punch was far too heaven-defying. If this punch was used in the mortal realm or the heavenly realm, it would probably be able to destroy the mortal realm or the heavenly realm with just one punch. The limitless Extreme Emperor's small world began to crack and crack in space. These cracks didn't heal even after a long time. Then, Gu Fei, who was hit by the limitless Extreme Emperor's punch, was flung thousands of miles away. The left side of his body was crumbling, and it almost spread to his entire body. How dare you? Without hesitation, Gu Fei flew into the sky and disappeared into the crack in space. The limitless Extreme Emperor wanted to chase after him. However, he only took one step before he felt like he was about to collapse. His face turned pale and blood seeped out from the corner of his mouth. The power in his body was going out of control. Roar! The limitless extreme emperor roared in anger. Young man, you are lucky today. If we meet again in the future, I will fight to the death. The limitless extreme emperor howled. I will fight to the death with you now. There is no need to wait for the future. Gu Fei's voice came from the crack in space. Haha, is that so? Come out and fight if you dare? The limitless extreme emperor laughed in disdain. Just you wait. I will be back to settle the score with you soon. Gu Fei left. Oh no. The limitless extreme emperor's expression changed. In the next second, he disappeared from the small world. When he reappeared, he was already outside. Gu Fei, when he saw the scene in front of him, he exploded in anger. The entrance to the limitless extreme emperor palace had been completely destroyed. There was only a giant palm print where the entrance used to be. All of the limitless extreme emperor's subordinates were lying on the ground. They were all killed by the power of the sword. Even his 2 direct disciples were among them. Out of the 13 limitless extreme emperors, only the 11 were left. Yuan Gu and the others seemed to have sensed something was amiss and hid somewhere. The people who stayed behind to guard the entrance all received their lunchboxes. The limitless extreme emperor gritted his teeth in anger, but Gu Fei had already escaped. While Gu Fei was wreaking havoc in the limitless extreme emperor palace, Gu Fei's new disciple Wang Zhan, Dong Yushui, and the others escorted the tyrant war god to a city less than 500 miles away from the East Moon royal capital. Their next stop was the East Moon royal capital. Chapter 57:14. The East Moon royal capital was the largest city in the East Moon Empire. The capital of the East Moon Empire was also the most prosperous city in the East Moon Empire. The East Moon imperial capital was the city with the most citizens in the East Moon Empire. It was a huge city with more than 20 million citizens, and the city guards were always maintained at more than 1 million. The city was divided into 5 districts, and each district was guarded by a god. In other words, there were at least 5 gods in the East Moon royal capital. This was only what was on the surface. Exactly how many immortals were hidden in the Eastern Moon imperial capital was a secret that no one knew. Third brother has arrived at Heavenly Leap City. In the majestic main hall of the imperial capital, Imperial Lord Dongyu sat on the imperial throne, while civil and military officials stood to his left and right below him. Zuo Wu and Zuo Wan. On the left of the throne was a group of generals clad in battle armor. The one in the lead was the number 1 war god of the East Moon Empire, Dongyue Lingxiao. The civil officials on the right were led by the Prime Minister, Dong Xinyu. The 3 great clans of the East Moon Empire were the Tiger Clan, the Longxiang Clan, and the Dongxian Clan. These 3 clans were deeply rooted in the East Moon Empire. Even the East Moon imperial family was unwilling to fall out with these 3 clans. Your Majesty, the princess has already arrived at Heavenly Leap City before nightfall last night, Dongyue Lingxiao answered. What? Arrived yesterday? Then why hasn't she returned to the royal capital? The East Moon Royal Lord was very surprised. Sitting on the throne, the East Moon Royal Lord wore a purple dragon crown, a purple dragon robe, and purple cloud boots. His face was like jade, and his eyebrows reached his temples. His figure was slender, and he exuded an aura of might. It had to be said that the East Moon Royal Lord's appearance was superb. However, in the infinite realm, superb appearance was nothing. As long as one was successful in cultivation, anyone could change their appearance. Everyone could become a handsome man or a beautiful woman. However, being naturally good-looking was really a small advantage. After all, many people still liked the original appearance. Your Majesty, I have something to report. The Prime Minister, Dong Xinyu, suddenly stepped forward. Dong Xinyu, the patriarch of the Dongxian clan of the Dongyue Empire. His occupation was the Prime Minister of the Dongyue Empire. He did not have any cultivation, yet he was able to become the patriarch of the Dongxian clan and the Prime Minister of the Dongyue Empire. It was clear that Dong Xinyu truly was an extremely impressive existence. So what if he did not have any cultivation? No one in the entire Dongyue Empire dared to underestimate him. Even the number 1 war god of the East Moon Empire, Dongyue Lingxiao, treated this old man as his number 1 opponent. The two of them had fought openly and covertly for many years, yet Dongyue Lingxiao, the #1 war god, was actually unable to gain any advantage. However, this time, Dong Xinyu suffered a huge setback in Dongyue Lingxiao's hands. As a matter of fact, Dongyue Lingxiao had taken advantage of the situation as well, as he had not done anything at all. All he did was sit back and enjoy the fruits of others' labor. He was the crown prince's man, while Dong Xinyu was the second prince's man. Dongyue Lingxiao was not surprised to see Dong Xinyu step forward, as he already knew what Dong Xinyu was going to say. He could not help but curl his lips into a sneer. Speak. The East Moon Imperial Lord was truly in a good mood, as his daughter, the third princess, had actually captured the #1 war god of the tyrannical Sky Empire alive. Moreover, Dongyue Shui had even killed the #1 saber god of the tyrannical Sky Empire. All of the battle achievements belonged to Dongyue Shui. Such a battle achievement was practically unprecedented in the East Moon Empire. Even Dongyue Lingxiao, the #1 war god of the East Moon Empire, could not compare. It should be noted that in the war between the East Moon Empire and the tyrannical Sky Empire, the East Moon Empire had always been oppressed by the tyrannical Sky Empire. All of the territories outside of Black Qilan City had been occupied by the tyrannical Sky Empire. The East Moon Empire could only defend Black Qilan City to the death. Her Highness beat up the second prince and even locked him in a prisoner's carriage, Dong Xinyu said with a solemn expression. What? Everyone in the Great Hall was shocked by Dong Xinyu's words. Her Highness beat up the second prince and even locked him in a prisoner's carriage? How was that possible? They were brother and sister. Her Royal Highness even locked the second prince in the same prison carriage as the sky-dominating war god. Dong Xinyu added. Everyone stared at Dong Xinyu. The East Moon Imperial Lord stared at Dong Xinyu in disbelief. Only Dongyue Lingxiao remained calm. Dong Xinyu, is what you said true? Do you have any concrete evidence? The East Moon Imperial Lord stared at Dong Xinyu and asked in a deep voice. This matter is absolutely true. If your majesty doesn't believe me, you can ask our #1 war god to see if what I said is true. Dong Xinyu turned around and stared at Dongyue Lingxiao. Dongyue Lingxiao, tell me. The East Moon Imperial Lord also stared at Dongyue Lingxiao. How would the Prime Minister dare to deceive the Emperor? What he said is true. Dongyue Lingxiao answered. How dare you? The East Moon Imperial Lord was furious. Send a letter to the third princess immediately and order her to return to the imperial capital to see me. The East Moon Imperial Lord said loudly to Dongyue Lingxiao. Yes, your majesty. Dongyue Lingxiao answered. Dong Xinyu looked at Dongyue Lingxiao coldly. He wanted to take Dongyue Shui down a notch and weaken her contributions. Dongyue Lingxiao did not say anything. However, the East Moon Imperial Lord was clearly angry. In the East Moon Overlord's eyes, Dongyue Shui had truly crossed the line. He was her second royal brother after all. Beating up her royal brother was already an act of defiance. Yet she had even locked him up in a prison carriage and locked him up with the tyrant war god. She had humiliated her royal brother and disregarded their relationship as siblings. This was unacceptable to the East Moon Overlord. The crown prince who stood beside the Imperial Lord's throne wanted to say something, but was stopped by Dongyue Lingxiao's gaze. Dongyue Lingxiao shook her head at the crown prince. Dong Xinyu was secretly happy to see Dongyue Lingxiao being humiliated. Dong Xinyu's allies were also gloating. Dongyue Lingxiao was the crown prince's supporter. Now that there was a chance to strike the crown prince's camp, they naturally wanted to use it to deal a harsh blow to the crown prince's camp. Court dismissed. Soon, the court ended, and the East Moon Imperial Lord left the hall angrily. However, the crown prince went to find Dongyue Lingxiao after the court was dismissed. Crown Prince, just wait and watch the show. Dongyue Lingxiao said nothing and left the palace directly. This made the crown prince extremely gloomy. At this moment, the sacred envoy of the East Moon Imperial Lord left the palace and the imperial capital with the imperial edict, heading straight for Tianyue City. Tianyue City, the city lord's residence. In the backyard, a figure suddenly appeared, almost scaring the two fellows who were sitting cross-legged under a tree to death. Greetings, master. When Wang Zhan saw the person who suddenly appeared, He immediately knelt down. "Master?" The fatty on the side looked at the black-clothed youth who suddenly appeared cautiously. "Master?" In a pavilion far away, a white-clothed woman stood up. Is there really a mysterious sect behind him? Chapter 57:15. Greetings, Master. In the backyard of the city lord's residence, Wang Zhan knelt at the feet of a black-robed young man with extreme respect. Fatty and Schwer were shocked. Who was this black-robed young man? Wang Zhan knelt at first sight. "Get up." Gu Fei placed his left hand behind his back. With a wave of his right hand, an illusory figure immediately emerged from Wang Zhan, who was kneeling on the ground. Then, it rushed out and directly entered his body. Fatty couldn't help but be shocked when he saw this. He seemed to have thought of something, and the way he looked at the black-clothed youth changed. At this moment, Schwer hurried over from the pavilion far away. "You're Wang Zhan's master?" Schwer sized up the black-robed young man before her. The black-robed young man wasn't very handsome. He was above average, and his black robes weren't some treasure either. They were just ordinary clothes. His hair was casually tied behind his head with a hairband, and his expression was indifferent. Apart from that, there didn't seem to be anything special about him. Most importantly, Schwer and Fatty couldn't sense a trace of a cultivator's aura from the black-robed young man. He seemed like an ordinary person. However, if he could appear here without warning, he was definitely not an ordinary person. However, they couldn't tell how powerful this guy was. Both Schwer and Fatty were doubtful. This was because the fake sword master Dong Yu was a very good example. These days, there were quite a lot of people who swindled others. It was hard to say if the black-robed young man had tricked Wang Zhan in some way. "You can say that," Gu Fei said indifferently. He was injured in the battle with Extreme Emperor of Beginning and needed a place to recuperate. He also wanted to see his first disciple in the Endless Realm. At this moment, he had already recalled the divine sense he had attached to Wang Zhan, so he knew everything. Wang Zhan's luck was really good. Could he be the legendary child of fortune? Gu Fei was not very interested in these so-called chosen by heaven or children of luck. After all, so what if they had shocking talent and overwhelming luck? If they wanted to become a true expert, they would have to go through all sorts of trials and tribulations. "Greetings, Senior." Dongyue Schwer clasped her hands at Gu Fei as a form of greeting. Previously, when Gu Fei fought against Sacred Lord Void Sky, he did not use his true appearance. With Dongyue Schwer and the fatty's cultivation, they naturally did not know that the black-robed young man before them was one of the supreme existences in the battle that day. If they knew that the person before them was a supreme infinite prime, they would probably kneel down even faster than Wang Zhan. "Greetings, Senior." Fatty followed suit and cupped his hands at Gu Fei. Gu Fei smiled and didn't mind. How could a giant dragon in the sky lower itself to the level of an ant on the ground? However, Wang Zhan didn't dare to lay. Since Gu Fei didn't ask him to get up, he obediently lay at Gu Fei's feet and didn't dare to move. The reason why he had his current cultivation was all because of this master in front of him. If it weren't for his master, the grass on his grave would probably be 3 feet tall by now. After all, he was just an ordinary soldier in Black Qilan City. If it weren't for Gu Fei's will that had just entered the infinite realm, he would have died a long time ago. Not only did Gu Fei's will heal his fatal injury, but it also taught him cultivation techniques and opened up a world of will to train his soul. "Get up." Gu Fei stood with his hands behind his back and said calmly. Yes. Only then did Wang Zhan dare to stand up. He lowered his head and stood aside. Seeing this, Fatty and Dongyue Schwer were a little dumbfounded. This Wang Zhan was so mighty before. Why was he as obedient as a kitten in front of this black-robed young man? Wang Zhan's previous performance was amazing. Even the tyrannical battle god was defeated by him. He killed the number 1 saber god of the tyrannical Sky Empire with a wave of his hand. Fatty and Dongyue Schwer did not know that the previous Wang Zhan was just a clone of Gu Fei in the infinite realm. The current Wang Zhan was the real Wang Zhan. Of course, the current Wang Zhan was also very domineering. However, he did not dare to be presumptuous in front of Gu Fei. "Master, please allow me to welcome you back," Wang Zhan said carefully. Gu Fei did not say anything. He suddenly frowned. Soon, a figure descended from the sky. Dongyue Shuer, kneel and receive the decree. A voice that was neither male nor female was heard. A guy with a face as white as paper and a hairless mouth, dressed in a servant's uniform, hovered in the air with an imperial decree in his hand. He looked down at Dongyue Shuer and the others with an overbearing manner. Eunuch 2? Dongyue Shuer was shocked when she saw the person. This guy turned out to be the Empress' trusted aide, Eunuch Tuesday. This guy's arrival at this time was definitely nothing good. Dongyue Shuer immediately knelt. Wang Zhan subconsciously wanted to kneel as well. In this limitless realm, who is qualified to make my disciple kneel? Gu Fei said calmly. Wang Zhan, who was about to kneel, immediately straightened his back when he heard that. The imperial decree of Royal Lord East Moon is here. Why aren't you all kneeling to receive it? Eunuch 2 said sternly. Gu Fei did not kneel. Wang Zhan did not kneel. Fatty did not kneel either. Royal Lord East Moon, or whatever. He was nothing in their eyes. How dare you look down on the majesty of the Royal Lord? 9 familial exterminations. Eunuch 2 was instantly enraged when he saw that the 3 of them did not kneel. TCH. Fatty crossed his arms in disdain, completely ignoring the androgynous guy in the sky. Wang Zhan stood proudly, ignoring Eunuch 2's words. As for Gu Fei, Royal Lord East Moon did not even have the right to kneel to him. Ouch! Eunuch 2 was truly enraged. Where is the heavenly protector? Eunuch 2 roared. Whoosh! A figure immediately appeared in the air. What? Dongyue Shuer was shocked. She did not expect her father to send out the heavenly protector. The heavenly protector was second only to the number 1 war god, Dongyue Lingxiao. This heavenly imperial guardian was definitely a godly state expert. What did her father mean? Was he going to take her down? What did she do wrong? Dongyue Shuer could not help but feel uneasy. She had captured the Sky Tyrant war god alive and killed the number 1 saber god of the Sky Tyrant. Her contributions were great, and she was definitely number 1 in the East Moon Empire. Who could compare to her? However, something was wrong. Those who look down on the majesty of the Royal Lord shall be killed without mercy. Eunuch 2 ordered. Eunuch 2, you. Dongyue Shuer was shocked. She did not expect that Eunuch 2 would really kill Wang Zhan and the others. Eunuch 2 sneered with an arrogant and haughty expression. The so-called heavenly protector in the sky really did look like one. He wore golden armor and held a heavenly halberd, like a divine general descending from the heavens. A powerful aura erupted from the golden-armored, heavenly war god. You want to kill me? Chapter 57:16. Eunuch 2, the imperial attendant of the East Moon Empire, had arrived at Heavenly U City with the imperial edict. He was overbearing and arrogant, believing himself to be the Empress' trusted aide. He had directly accused Gu Fei, Wang Zhan, and the fatty of looking down on the empire. He had even called out the Divine Protector General of the East Moon Empire to kill Gu Fei and the others. However, this so-called Eunuch 2 would never have imagined that his high and mighty attitude of having the power to decide one's life and death was as laughable as a clown in the eyes of Gu Fei and the others. It was like an ant waving a big stick and trying to kill a giant dragon. Eunuch 2, are you sure you want to kill them? Dongyue Shuer suddenly stood up from the ground. She looked at Eunuch 2, who was holding the imperial edict in the sky, mockingly. Looking down on the dignity of the empire will result in the death of 9 generations. Eunuch 2 was still very arrogant. Then go ahead and try. The fatty said disapprovingly. He had a great background and was not even afraid of infinite primes. So why would he be afraid of a mere East Moon Empire? Looking down on the dignity of the empire? If you piss me off, I'll just press the East Moon Imperial Lord into the ground 1,000 times. What are you waiting for, Divine Protector General? Eunuch 2 roared. Kill. With a cold look on his face, the Protector Divine General charged towards the fatty from the sky. Whoosh. The Divine Protector waved the halberd in his hand. An arc-shaped blade of light immediately appeared above the fatty's head, cleaving down towards his head. Powerful energy ripples spread from the Divine Protector. The weather immediately changed, and the sun and moon dimmed. The might of a godhood realm cultivator was quite impressive. Currently, countless cultivators in heavenly U-City looked towards the city lord's estate in fear. All the cultivators felt an uncontrollable fear from the depths of their souls. This was a form of deterrence from godhood realm cultivators. No one in the city knew what was going on. They were all terrified. When the divine protector attacked, Gu Fei and Wang Zhan were extremely calm. Only Dongyue Shui showed a hint of fear. However, the next moment, Dongyue Shui was utterly dumbfounded by the scene before her. Fatty impatiently stretched out his right hand and directly caught the halberd that was slashing down at lightning speed in his hand. The fatty had completely ignored the sharpness of the halberd's edge. The divine protector of the East Moon Empire was in existence second only to the greatest divine general of the East Moon Empire, Dongyue Lingxiao. The halberd in his hands was a proper god weapon. The fatty was actually able to ignore the attack of a god artifact. Let alone Dongyue Shui, even Wang Zhan was taken aback. The arrogant eunuch too in the sky was so shocked that his eyeballs almost popped out. As the envoy of Imperial Lord East Moon, he naturally had the right to be arrogant, because the Divine Protector General would come with him. With the second strongest cultivator of the East Moon Empire, he could definitely do as he pleased within the borders of the East Moon Empire. Moreover, he, who held the Imperial Edict, was now the symbol of Imperial authority. However, Eunuch II never dreamed that there would be people who dared to ignore the Imperial authority of the East Moon Imperial Lord and defy the Imperial Edict in a tiny heavenly U-City. This was no longer as simple as defying the Imperial Edict. The attitude of these three people was basically disregarding the Imperial Edict of the East Moon Imperial Lord. Actually, Eunuch II, who had the backing of people, really did not know that Gu Fei and the others really had the confidence to look down on the East Moon Imperial Lord. There was no need to mention Gu Fei. The East Moon Imperial Lord was a joke in his eyes. The fatty had a powerful background. The East Moon Imperial Lord was nothing. Even Wang Zhan was not very interested in the East Moon Imperial Lord. Wang Zhan was also a god. Although he was only at the initial stage, he was still a god after all. I'm already a god. Why would I be afraid of you, the East Moon Imperial Lord? In the East Moon Empire, the god level was already in existence that stood at the peak. Of course, the factions within the East Moon Empire were also complicated. There was the Infinite Sword Sect and various cultivation clans. Even as powerful as the East Moon Empire, they were still very wary of these factions. Especially the Infinite Sword Sect, which was the greatest sword sect in the East Pole. You're just a eunuch. You're not even a man, and you still dare to act mighty in front of me? The fatty sneered. Eunuch II was so angry that his pale face turned the color of a pig's liver. At this moment, the fatty's hand that grabbed the square sky halberd tightened. Crack! Under everyone's shocked gazes, the square sky halberd in the hands of the Divine Protector broke. There was only a pole left in the Divine Protector's hand. The Divine Protector General's shock was no small matter. Before he could recover, the fatty had already grabbed the head of the square sky halberd and slapped it hard on his face, directly sending him flying. How is this possible? Eunuch II's voice trembled. Only now did he know how terrifying these people were. No wonder these people did not care about the Imperial Edict of the East Moon Imperial Lord. In the eyes of these people, the Imperial Edict of the East Moon Imperial Lord was no different from toilet paper to wipe their butts. Boom! With a loud rumble, the Divine Protector of the East Moon Empire that had been sent flying by the fat man directly smashed into a nearby building. The entire building then collapsed. Cries of shock rang out everywhere, and smoke and dust filled the air. You're worthy of the title of Divine Protector with just this bit of cultivation? The fatty casually tossed the blade of the square sky halberd away, then suddenly raised his head to look at the androgynous fellow in the sky. Why you? What are you trying to do? I'm the messenger, representing the East Moon Imperial Lord. If you dare touch me, Eunuch II remained stubborn. Pa! Before Eunuch II could finish his sentence, he was slapped hard across the face by the fatty who had suddenly appeared in front of him. This slap to the face directly stunned this guy. So what if I touch you? The fatty looked at him with an ambiguous smile. You'll regret it. Eunuch 2 gritted his teeth. Pa, I'll regret it? Pa, who do you think you are? Pa, I only hit you because I think highly of you. Do you understand? Pa, I'd like to see what you have to make me regret it. Pa. With that, the fatty gave him another backhand slap. Seeing how fierce the fatty was, Dong Yue Shui was so shocked that she was speechless. Meanwhile, Gu Fei was still unperturbed. Wang Zhan was also extremely shocked. Lord Fatty was too fierce. That was an imperial messenger, and an imperial messenger of the East Moon Imperial Lord at that. The fatty actually beat an imperial messenger into a pig's head. Don't kill him. Dong Yue Shui was still relatively calm. Although she looked down on this eunuch too, she did not want him to die here. TCH, he wants to kill me, but I can't? What a joke. The fatty sneered. Whoosh. Sensing the fatty's killing intent, Eunuch 2 immediately turned around and fled. The fatty snorted coldly and punched out. Bang! Eunuch 2 was directly blown up by the fatty's punch, his body and soul destroyed. The imperial edict fell to the ground, rolling right at Dong Yue Shui's feet. This? Chapter 57:17. Gu Fei and Wang Zhan did not even need to do anything. Eunuch 2, the arrogant imperial lord of the East Moon Imperial Lord, was killed by the fatty with a single punch. Dong Yue Shui was dumbfounded. She did not expect fatty to be so powerful and decisive. Once he had the intention to kill, he killed Eunuch Tuesday. Although Dong Yue Shui hated this arrogant guy, Eunuch 2 was favored by the Empress of the East Moon Empire. This time, Dong Yue Shui ran away from the marriage mainly because the Imperial Lord wanted to confer the title of Empress. The Imperial Lord was also helpless, as the new Empress backer was just too powerful. Furthermore, the new Empress clan had the support of Swordmaster Dong Yu. Even the Imperial Lord had to lower his head at a time like this. Soon after Dong Yue Shui left the imperial capital, the East Moon Empire held an Empress conferring ceremony. The imperial concubine became the Empress directly. This was also why the second prince of the East Moon Empire dared to steal Dong Yue Shui's credit. Dong Yue Yuanliang was truly confident at a time like this. He wanted to use this opportunity to drag the crown prince down. However, he never expected that not only did he fail to drag the crown prince down, but he also became a joke. Right now, the second prince of the East Moon Empire was still locked in a prison carriage with the Overlord War God. They were waiting to be escorted to the imperial capital tomorrow. Dong Yue Shui would definitely not show mercy this time. A mere eunuch dares to act so presumptuously before me? Isn't he courting death? The fatty retracted his fist. There was a hint of pride in his arrogance. I've hidden my strength well. I'm impressed. Wang Zhan clasped his hands at the fatty. Haven't you hidden your strength well too? The fatty looked at Wang Zhan with a smile that did not seem like a smile. His gaze, however, landed on Gu Fei. I'm still the best. Wang Zhan smiled. Boom. At this moment, there was a loud sound. A figure shot into the sky from the collapsed pavilion in the distance, charging over with a murderous aura. This person was the divine general of the East Moon Empire who had been sent flying by the fatty earlier. To be able to become the divine general of the Hu Kingdom of the East Moon Empire, this person's cultivation was also very strong. His cultivation was at the early stage of the god level, and his god-tier equipment allowed his battle prowess to far surpass those of the same cultivation level. The divine protector generals of the East Moon Empire were lofty existences. In the East Moon Empire, the divine protector generals could act first and report later, and they only obeyed the orders of the East Moon Imperial Lord. This was also why Dong Yue Shui was nervous, because the new empress could not command the heavenly protector generals. Not only did he have a high status, he wielded the power of life and death. Furthermore, his cultivation was extremely high. Even Dong Yue Shui would not dare to act recklessly in front of him, let alone others. Scram, or I'll kill you too. Lord Fatty glanced impatiently at the Divine Protector General. The murderous Divine Protector General of the East Moon Empire immediately backed down. He had no choice but to back down. This damned fatty had actually killed that eunuch, Eunuch Tuesday. This eunuch too was no simple character. Even though he was just a servant, he had cultivated the legendary Infinite Flower Manual, and his cultivation base was extremely strong. Even as the Divine Protector General, it would not be easy for him to kill Eunuch Tuesday. The Divine Protector of the East Moon Empire immediately turned around and left. Seeing this, Dongyue Shuer breathed a sigh of relief. The fatty and the others were dangerous figures. If the Divine Protector of the East Moon Empire clashed with the fatty and the others, there would only be one outcome. Eunuch 2 was a very good example. The fatty did not make a move and allowed the Divine Protector General to leave. He was not a bloodthirsty person. The Divine Protector of the East Moon Empire was not that arrogant and despotic Eunuch Tuesday. At this moment, Gu Fei's face suddenly became as pale as a sheet of paper, and a trickle of blood seeped out from the corner of his mouth. This, Wang Zhan was shocked. Master, Wang Zhan was worried. Gu Fei waved his hand and wiped away the blood at the corner of his mouth. I'm fine. Very soon, color returned to Gu Fei's face. When the fatty and Dongyue Shuer saw this, the look in their eyes changed slightly. Wang Zhan's master was actually injured? Could it be that this guy was really a swindler? Fellow Taoist, are you all right? The fatty went up and patted Gu Fei's shoulder. Gu Fei's body swayed, and a trickle of blood seeped out from the corner of his mouth again. The fatty's expression became rather strange. He patted Gu Fei's shoulder twice. He was testing Gu Fei, and with this, he actually found out that this guy's cultivation was only at the godly level. Acting like an expert in front of the fatty with that bit of cultivation, the fatty was immediately displeased. However, this Wang Zhan's cultivation and battle prowess were very strong. Forget it. I'll give Wang Zhan some face and not expose this guy. I'm fine. Thank you for your concern, fellow Taoist. Gu Fei glanced at the fatty with a smile. His eyes flickered with a strange look. At this moment, the injuries on his body were acting up. The extreme monarch of Wuchu's strength had almost cancelled out his own, which was why the fatty thought that his cultivation was only at the godly level. This was a huge misunderstanding. However, Gu Fei did not say anything. If this fatty wants to play, then I'll play with him. The extreme monarch of Wuchu was indeed a ruthless man with an impressive cultivation base. Even though he was injured, the guy would not be able to get away with it either. Gu Fei was confident that even though he was injured, he would be able to recover in 3 months at most. The extreme monarch of Wuchu was also injured. Even though he was guarding against Sacred Master Su Tian, he would be in trouble if that guy were to attack him now. Find a place for me to rest, Gu Fei said to Wang Zhan. Yes, master. Wang Zhan glanced at Dongyue Shuer. Someone. Dongyue Shuer yelled. A figure immediately appeared in front of Dongyue Shuer. It was Yang Fei Yun, Dongyue Shuer's captain of guards. Take this senior away and settle him down. Don't neglect him. Got it? Dongyue Shuer said to Yang Fei Yun. Yes, your highness. Yang Fei Yun accepted the order. Thank you. Gu Fei smiled. In the eyes of the fatty and Dongyue Shuer, he was a little weak now. Dongyue Shuer was doing this for Wang Zhan's sake. Even if Gu Fei was a cripple, she would still order people to take good care of him, as she wanted to suck up to Wang Zhan. Wang Zhan was someone with great potential in Dongyue Shuer's eyes. In fact, they did not know that the reason Gu Fei's cultivation had weakened was because of his injuries. Before his injuries acted up, he was an infinite prime. At that moment, he was indeed very weak. However, his period of weakness only lasted for less than 5 breaths of time. The fatty's luck was not very good. He tested Gu Fei when he was at his weakest, thinking that Gu Fei was really only at the immortal realm. The fatty was no longer as cautious towards Wang Zhan as before. He even looked down on Wang Zhan's master. Gu Fei saw all of this with his own eyes, but he didn't expose it. Chapter 57:18. Disciple, are those 2 friends of yours reliable? In the guest room, Gu Fei sat on the bed and asked Wang Zhan, who was kneeling on the ground. His tone was extremely calm. Wang Zhan did not know what to say. Of the 2 friends his master mentioned, one was the princess of the East Moon Empire, while the other was a fatty of unknown origins. Come to think of it, the 2 of them did not seem to be very reliable. They seemed to be looking down on me. Sigh, how did they know that I was only injured because I fought with Wu Chu? Gu Fei's tone was still calm. What? Wang Zhan was dumbfounded. His master actually fought with Wu Chu? Was that Wu Chu the master of the East Pole, the extreme emperor of the East Pole? Even children who did not know how to cultivate knew about the extreme emperor of the East Pole. All living beings in the East Pole knew that there was only one master, and that was the extreme emperor of the East Pole. All the factions in the East Pole submitted to the extreme emperor. The extreme emperor was the ruler of the East Pole, controlling the life and death of all living beings in the East Pole. I hope your friends don't do anything stupid. You can leave. After saying that, Gu Fei closed his eyes. In the next instant, his aura completely disappeared. If one didn't use their eyes, they wouldn't be able to sense his existence. It was as if he had become one with the void around him. This, Wang Zhan was inexplicably shocked. He carefully stood up from the ground and retreated out of the guest room step by step. He then carefully closed the door. When Wang Zhan turned around after closing the door, a hint of anger appeared on his face. How preposterous! Dongyue Shui had only arranged for an ordinary guest room for my master to stay in? That's not giving me any face at all. How could they possibly imagine their master's strength? Wang Zhan went to find Dongyue Shui furiously. Gu Fei obviously did not care. With his current cultivation level, he had transcended worldly affairs. So what if he was looked down on? So what if he was looked up to? It did not matter. However, Wang Zhan did not have Gu Fei's mentality. Your Highness, what do you mean by this? Wang Zhan found Dongyue Shui and shouted angrily at her. What do you mean? Dongyue Shui was enjoying a sumptuous lunch in the back garden of the city lord's manor. Fatty was roasting the thigh of an unknown divine beast on the grill at the side. A meaty aroma lingered in the air, stirring one's appetite. Humph! Wang Zhan stepped forward and grabbed the table. Then, with a ferocious swing, the table of delicacies was overturned and the floor was a mess. Wang Zhan, what's wrong with you? Fatty said without raising his head as he roasted his meat. Lord Fatty, it's none of your business. Wang Zhan said unhappily. Sure, you guys play. Fatty's gaze was fixed on the roasted meat. He was wondering if it was 80% or 60% better. What happened to you? Dongyue Shui, on the other hand, looked at Wang Zhan calmly. You're going too far. That's my master. You actually arranged a servant's room for my master to stay in? Wang Zhan said angrily. Isn't your master recuperating? I guarantee that no one will dare to disturb him. Dongyue Shui said indifferently. Preposterous. My master is my heavens. If you disrespect my master, I won't be polite to you either. Wang Zhan glared at Dongyue Shui. The current him was no longer the cowardly Wang Zhan of the past. His powerful cultivation had given him great confidence. Dongyue Shui smiled and said, You're not alone. No matter what you do, you better think of your mother and sister first. You dare to threaten me? Wang Zhan's hands were trembling in anger. I'm not threatening you. I'm just reminding you. Dongyue Shui said proudly. Want to fight with me? This Wang Zhan is still too inexperienced. As long as I have Wang Zhan's mother and sister in my hands, Wang Zhan will be under my control. He won't dare to have any complaints or betray me. Dongyue Shui, who was born in the royal family, also knew the art of trickery under her influence. If you want to control someone, you have to grasp that person's weakness. What was Wang Zhan's weakness? Of course, they were Wang Zhan's mother and younger sister, who he had always depended on. Good, very good. Wang Zhan turned around and left. He wanted to take his mother and sister away directly. However, after searching the entire city lord's residence, he couldn't find his mother and sister. Damn it! At this moment, Wang Zhan finally understood why Dongyue Shui looked like she had him in the back. Needless to say, his mother and sister must have been sent away by Dongyue Shui. Wang Zhan had already guessed where Dongyue Shui had sent his mother and sister. It seemed that a trip to the East Moon royal capital was out of the question. Wang Zhan was furious. He almost couldn't help but fall out with Dongyue Shui, but he held back. Attacking his family was crossing his bottom line. Ha ha ha. Wang Zhan stood on the steps in front of the city lord's residence and laughed. His laughter spread throughout the entire city lord's residence. In the back garden of the city lord's residence. What you're doing is a bit too much. After the meat was cooked, he directly grabbed the golden beast leg and took a big bite, tearing off a large piece of meat and eating it. Too much. Dongyue Shui glanced at the food that Wang Zhan overturned on the ground and said disapprovingly. If Wang Zhan had an extremely powerful master, she wouldn't have used this method to control him. Unfortunately, his master was only an immortal state cultivator. Moreover, this immortal state cultivator was injured. An immortal state cultivator had raised an amazing disciple. This could only mean that this disciple's talent was too heaven-defying. Therefore, Dongyue Shui only wanted to control Wang Zhan for her own use. As for his master, forget it. Of course, it would be best if she could control Wang Zhan's master as well. I have a feeling that you will regret what you did today. The fatty ate big bowls of wine and big mouthfuls of meat, his mouth full of grease. Dongyue Shui didn't say anything. Now she knew why the imperial family was the most ruthless. For the sake of power, some people would really do anything. Kinship and blood were nothing in the face of power. From now on, I'm going to live for myself. Dongyue Shui gritted her teeth. The fatty glanced at Dongyue Shui and said nothing. Dongyue Shui had already seen the imperial edict of the East Moon Royal Lord. Her father actually wanted her to release her second brother and give him the credit of capturing the sky-dominating war god as an apology. This made Dongyue Shui shocked, angry, and unwilling. Why? Was it because she was a woman? If she was a man, the position of Crown Prince of the East Moon Empire would have nothing to do with the current Crown Prince and second brother. Right now, the East Moon royal capital was like a gigantic beast with its mouth wide open, waiting for her to walk into its mouth. Chapter 57:19. Currently, various factions were competing in the East Moon royal capital. Although it seemed peaceful on the surface, there was a great deal of fighting behind the scenes. If Dongyue Shui escorted the Overlord War God back to the royal capital, it might cause a commotion. Even the commoners in the imperial capital could feel the formless tension in the air. It was like the calm before the storm. However, this was the East Moon royal capital after all, the largest and most prosperous city in the East Moon Empire. It was also the city with the most powerful cultivators in the empire. It was impossible to survive in the East Moon royal capital without some ability. Now, Dongyue Shui had actually chosen to defy the imperial edict. The crime of defying the imperial edict was no small matter. However, she had no choice, because Eunuch 2 had been killed by the fatty with a single punch, and the Divine Protector General had also been injured by the fatty. No matter what, the matter could not be resolved peacefully, because the new Empress faction would definitely make a big deal out of this. Dongyue Shui's crime of defying the imperial edict was already set in stone. Since that was the case, Dongyue Shui decided to be ruthless. At this time, the news of the injured Divine Protector General and Dongyue Shui defying the imperial edict was spread in the East Moon royal capital by people with ulterior motives. For a moment, the entire royal capital was in an uproar. Everyone was in disbelief. After all, Princess Dongyue Shui had always been an obedient girl in the eyes of the people in the royal capital, yet she was defying the imperial edict this time? How was that possible? The East Moon Royal Lord was furious, and the entire court was shocked. The people who were the most pleased were the new Empress faction, because in their eyes, Dongyue Shui was on the Crown Prince's side. Getting rid of Dongyue Shui was equivalent to getting rid of a great supporter of the Crown Prince, and the second prince would have a greater chance of ascending the throne. However, the second prince was currently in a very miserable state. He was locked in a prison carriage by Dongyue Shui, together with the Overlord War God. Mr. Jean of the Golden Sun Sacred Land was also thrown into the prison carriage. Dongyue Shui planned to set off early the next morning. She wanted to openly and majestically escort Dongyue Yuanliang, the Overlord War God, and Mr. Jean into the East Moon royal capital. With Wang Zhan and Fatty as her trump cards, she had nothing to fear. She wanted to let those who were targeting her in the eastern capital know that she, Dongyue Shui, was not to be trifled with. If they angered this princess, the consequences would be dire. Strength was everything. No matter who you were, as long as you possessed absolute strength, you would be able to crush everything. Because this was a world where the strong were respected. Dongyue Shue's people were preparing. At the same time, she had also made contact with the crown prince in the imperial capital and learned about the situation in the imperial capital. The situation in the imperial capital was very disadvantageous to her. But so what? Tomorrow, there would be a good show in the East Moon imperial capital. Time passed very quickly. Whether it was the various factions in the East Moon royal capital or Shue's people, they were all rubbing their hands in glee, while some factions were already prepared to watch the show. Would the Crown Prince's faction crush the new Empress faction, or would the new Empress faction drag the Crown Prince down? No matter who won, it would be a good thing for the other factions. Wangzhan, East Moon Royal Capital, Infinite Sword Sect. On the top floor of the Infinite Sword Pavilion, Swordmaster Dong Yu sat cross-legged in the air. He suddenly opened his eyes. At this moment, a person opened the door and walked in carefully. That person walked up to Swordmaster Dong Yu with light steps. Master, I've already investigated. Princess Dong Yu will leave Tianyue City tomorrow morning and will probably arrive at the imperial capital by evening. The black-clothed person said carefully. That's it? Swordmaster Dong Yu did not even open his eyes. That person called Wang Zhan seems to have a powerful background. His master has appeared. The black-clothed person answered, I don't care who he is. Do you think I'm no match for him? Swordmaster Dong Yu suddenly opened his eyes and stared at the black-clothed person like a sword. The black-clothed person trembled in fear and hurriedly said, No, Master is the greatest sword of the East Moon Empire. Those who dare to offend Master must be tired of living. He hurriedly flattered. Keep an eye on them and report back. Swordmaster Dong Yu said coldly, Yes, Master. The black-clothed person retreated in fear. He has a master. Don't I have a master? After seeing his disciple leave, Swordmaster Dong Yu's expression also turned grim. Swordmaster Dong Yu's master was naturally the sword saint of the Infinite Sword Sect. No matter how powerful Wang Zhan and his master were, could they be more powerful than a sword saint? Swordmaster Dong Yu sneered. That girl dares to humiliate my son. I'll teach her a lesson. At this moment, in the imperial harem of the East Moon Empire, the new empress directly smashed the jade cup in her hand. The servants around her were all terrified. All of you leave. The new empress wore a phoenix crown and a phoenix robe. She sat upright and still, exuding an imposing aura. The surrounding servants hurriedly bowed to the new empress, then bowed and left. A middle-aged eunuch standing next to the new empress did not move. Young mistress, that girl is so arrogant. Should we? The middle-aged eunuch said as he stretched out his right hand and slashed diagonally in the air. Do you have any good ideas? A cold gleam flashed across the new empress' eyes. We can ask the people of the sky-piercing tower to do it. That way, there won't be any trouble. After all, they're professionals in this aspect, the eunuch said after some thought. All right, we'll go all the way this time. We'll send that girl on her way. It'll be best if we can frame the crown prince. That way, we'll have an excuse to depose the crown prince. Dong Xianfeng squinted her eyes. Her lips curled up slightly, revealing a cold smile. Yes, Dong Xianfeng's confidant could not help but admire Dong Xianfeng even more. As expected of the young mistress, this plan of killing two birds with one stone was truly vicious. At this moment, in another part of the imperial palace, in a warm room, Royal Lord Dong Yu was reading through memorials while the crown prince, Dongyue Haoyang, waited on his side. What's going on with the Hu family? Do they want to break off the engagement? Royal Lord Dong Yu directly threw the memorial in his hand onto the ground. What? Crown Prince Dongyue Haoyang was shocked. He quickly picked up the memorial and took a look. It was indeed from General Hu Bin. He wanted to break off the engagement. The engagement between the number one of the younger generation of the Hu family and Dongyue Shui, it was not something that could be easily broken off. Furthermore, the engagement could only be broken off by Dongyue Shui, not the Hu family. Clearly, the Hu family wanted to draw a clear line between them. To the Hu family, the current Dongyue Shui was definitely a huge trouble. Anyone who got involved with her would be in deep trouble. The news of Dongyue Shui defying the imperial edict had already spread throughout the entire eastern capital. Father, the The crown prince looked at royal lord Dong Yu in shock. The third girl has really gotten herself into big trouble this time. Royal lord Dong Yu felt helpless as well. It's such a nice day. Chapter 57:20. Dongyue Shui reorganized herself in Skywest City. She gathered thousands of people and formed a new team, escorting the tyrant war god and Dongyue Yuanliang back to the East Moon royal capital. The team set off in a grandiose manner, their banners fluttering in the wind. Dongyue Shui wore a feather robe and rode at the front of the team on her horned fire tiger. Wang Zhan and Fatty followed beside her. These two were her trump cards. With Wang Zhan and Fatty by her side, Dongyue Shui did not have to worry about anyone attacking her. She wanted to return to the royal capital in style. However, Gu Fei did not show himself. Wang Zhan prepared a carriage for him. When the team set off, Gu Fei entered the carriage. In this group, there was only one carriage with a carriage. In fact, this made this carriage very conspicuous in the group. However, Gu Fei did not care. A distance of several hundred kilometers was nothing to an Earthrealm cultivator who could fly, but it would take at least half a day to walk on the ground. The road between Skywest City and the royal capital was not difficult. Moreover, everyone in Dongyue Shui's team was a cultivator, so they were much stronger than ordinary people. The team's speed was not slow either. However, everyone knew that the journey would not be easy, because many people did not want Dongyue Shui to return to the royal capital, especially the new Empress Dong Xuanfeng and the others. Because Dongyue Shui had thrown Dongyue Yuanliang into a prison carriage and escorted him back to the royal capital, it was a great humiliation to Dongyue Yuanliang. As for the Empress, Dongyue Shui humiliating Dongyue Yuanliang was like slapping them in the face, and it was a resounding slap. If Dongyue Shui really escorted Dongyue Yuanliang back to the royal capital, where would the Empress and the others put their face? If Dongyue Yuanliang, the second successor to the throne, was really stuffed into a prison carriage and escorted back to the royal capital, he would probably never be able to sit on the throne for the rest of his life. After all, the royal lord did not have the final say in the Dongyue royal family. There was still the royal elders. It was impossible for the elders of the royal family to allow a prince who had lost all face in front of the entire city to inherit the position of the emperor. The royal family of Dongyue also wanted face. Is there going to be a good show so soon? Gu Fei, who was in the carriage, suddenly frowned. They had only left Sky Moon City for less than an hour, but there were already many powerful auras in the vicinity. There was a direct road between Tianyue City and the Imperial City. The path passed by forests, valleys, and even rivers. Therefore, it would not be difficult for those people in the dark to make a move on Dongyue Shui. This was because there were many places where he could set up an ambush and wait for Dongyu and Shui to fall into the trap. At this moment, Gu Fei sensed that there were many people hiding in the woods on both sides of the road. Gu Fei didn't warn Dongyu, Shui and the others. He also didn't tell Wang Zhan that there was an ambush ahead. This was also a form of training for Wang Zhan. If Wang Zhan was prepared in advance, then there would be no training at all. Gu Fei wanted to test Wang Zhan's ability to deal with unexpected situations. People had to go through all kinds of tests to truly grow. No one could succeed casually. Dongyu Shui rode at the front of the group on her horned fire tiger. She wore battle armor and boots, with an ancient sword hanging on her waist. She looked valiant and heroic, and as she looked around, there was a smug expression on her face. As long as she could return to the Imperial City, her second brother Dongyue Yuanliang would be finished. No one would be able to threaten the crown prince's position. Most importantly, she wanted to live for herself. The great merit of capturing the Overlord War God alive could be exchanged for what she wanted from her father. She didn't even hesitate to defy the imperial edict. The more Dongyu Shui thought about it, the more excited she became. I, Dongyu Shui, also have a day where I can make a name for myself. In the future, I can do whatever I want and go wherever I want. As long as I'm strong enough, even my father won't be able to control me. Wang Zhan, who was following Dongyu Shui, felt extremely depressed. This Dongyu Shui seemed to have changed a little, but he couldn't tell what had happened to her. At this time, the trees on both sides of the road began to grow denser. Stop! The fatty suddenly raised his hand and shouted. The advancing group immediately stopped. What? Everyone was shocked. Dong Yushui looked at the fatty in confusion. At this time, there was an air-piercing sound. Rays of black light suddenly shot out from the trees on both sides of the road, shooting towards Dong Yushui and the soldiers in the group. The arrows aimed at Dong Yushui and the fatty were all blocked, but they couldn't block the arrows that were aimed at the others. In the next moment, screams could be heard everywhere. The soldiers that Dong Yushui brought with her from Sky U City were all hit by the arrows and fell to the ground. A long arrow was shot straight at the carriage Gu Fei was in, stabbing into the wooden plank next to the carriage's entrance. Enemy attack! Enemy attack! Dong Yushui shouted at the top of her lungs. Soon, the soldiers under Dong Yushui moved quickly. The archers immediately readied their bows and counterattacked. Screams could be heard from the trees on both sides of the road. At the same time, an old man in green suddenly appeared in front of Dong Yushui and the others. A cold aura surged out from this person's body, causing the surrounding temperature to drop rapidly. Everyone felt a chill in their hearts. Mysterious Yin Qi? Gu Fei, who was in the carriage with the group, sensed the aura and his expression turned grim. Could this guy be the successor of Old Ghost of Yin Mountain? Gu Fei thought to himself. This Old Ghost of Yin Mountain was not someone to be trifled with. With his current cultivation and battle strength, he was far from being a match for Old Ghost of Yin Mountain. One should know that Old Ghost of Yin Mountain was in the Saint Realm. You stay, then scram. The person who came was extremely arrogant. In his eyes, these people were just ants. What did you say? Dong Yushui was already annoyed when she saw someone blocking the way. Now that this guy told her to scram, she laughed angrily. Which one of you wants to have a go? Dong Yushui said to Wang Zhan and Fatty. Old Gu, you go. Dong Yushui suddenly turned to Wang Zhan. All right, Wang Zhan said helplessly. He then appeared in front of the old man in a flash. You're courting death. The old man in green roared and threw a punch at Gu Fei. A violent force exploded, causing the surrounding void to tremble. At the same time, a group of people charged out from the trees on both sides of the road and began fighting with the soldiers of Sky Moon City. A masked man waved a broadsword in his hand and charged into the carriage that Gu Fei was in. In the next moment, the unlucky guy flew out of the carriage and smashed into the old man in front of the group. Boom! Wang Zhan and the green-robed old man's fists collided in an instant, resulting in a deafening explosion. Wang Zhan felt a huge force coming from the old man's fist, causing him to stagger back. The old man only took a step back and dodged the attack. Chapter 57:21. The people in the dark could no longer sit still. There were truly many people in the East Moon royal capital who did not wish to see Dong Yushui return to the capital, as once she did, it would immediately ignite the conflict between all parties. Originally, all the major organizations were fighting in the dark. Once Dong Yushui returned to the imperial capital, all the hidden battles would immediately turn into open conflict. The entire Dongyue Empire would probably descend into chaos. Even the East Moon Empire did not wish to see internal strife erupt in the East Moon Empire, which would give the enemy an opportunity to take advantage of. At this moment, at the borders of the East Moon Empire, the million-strong army of the tyrannical Heaven Tyrant Empire pressed down. Even the #1 war god of the East Moon Empire, Dongyue Lingxiao, had already rushed to Black Qilin City. With Dongyue Lingxiao overseeing Black Qilin City, they managed to stop the million-strong elite army of the tyrannical Heaven Dynasty. The war between the tyrannical Sky Empire and the Eastern Moon Empire was on the verge of breaking out. Moreover, in order to rescue the Overlord War God, the tyrannical Sky Empire had even sent out countless elites to infiltrate the East Moon Empire. These people were all waiting for an opportunity to strike. In particular, the Tong Tian Tower was also involved. The Skysplit Tower was the East Pole's #1 assassin organization. It was a force that was overseen by Killer Saint. In the East Pole, no one dared to ignore the existence of the Skysplit Tower. In the last few hundred kilometers of the journey, those people would do anything to harm Dong Yushui. Dong Yushui and the others would surely encounter unimaginable dangers along the way. Not many of them would be able to reach the capital in the end. However, Everyone knew that as long as they could reach the imperial city and enter the imperial city, they would be able to enjoy glory, splendor, and wealth. Her Highness the princess had promised. Otherwise, who would be willing to play around with their lives when the journey was so dangerous? Only great rewards could attract people, give them hope, and make them work for Dongyue Shuer. It had to be said that Dongyue Shuer, who was born in the Dongyue royal family, truly understood people very well. Even Wang Zhan had no choice but to listen obediently. Sure enough, just an hour after they left Skymoon City, when they passed by a forest, countless black shadows appeared on both sides of the road. These fellows were dressed in black tights and wore black hoods. There were 2 holes in the hoods, revealing only their eyes. Kill! Battle cries rang out, accompanied by the flashes of swords. Many people fell to the ground, and the smell of blood permeated the air. The people who attacked Dongyue Shuer's group were meticulously arranged, each of them as ferocious as wild beasts, and none of them were afraid of death. Pooh! One of the black-robed men stabbed a battle soldier in the chest, but he was immediately cut down by a dozen or so battle soldiers who swarmed around him. However, this fellow was extremely ferocious. When he fell to the ground, he even dragged a battle soldier with him. Then, he pounced forward and bit the battle soldier's neck. These guys really didn't want to live anymore. The soldiers under Dongyue Shuer were not cowards, but they were still frightened by the ferocity of these black-clothed men. Countless black shadows directly charged into Dongyue Shuer's group, causing them to fall into chaos. For some unknown reason, the carriage Gu Fei was in had become the target of those black-clothed men. Gu Fei had just sent one of the black-clothed men flying when another 2 black-clothed men rushed in from outside. Gu Fei then sent another 2 black-clothed men flying. However, another 4 or 5 black-clothed men rushed in. Holy shit, it's not over yet? Gu Fei was depressed. I just wanted to keep a low profile for a while. Was that wrong? With a wave of his hand, the 4 or 5 black-clothed men directly smashed through the carriage and flew out. Master! Wang Zhan was shocked when he turned around and saw this. He immediately flew up and pounced at the carriage Gu Fei was in. Sigh. Seeing that Wang Zhan was abandoning her, Dongyue Shuer wanted to stop him. However, at this moment, a sharp arrow was shot directly at her. Dongyue Shuer tilted her head to the side, and the arrow flew past her forehead, hitting a fighter not far behind her. The soldier let out a blood-curdling screech, fell off his horse, and breathed his last. Damn it! Dongyue Shuer was both shocked and furious. She never thought that the journey would be smooth sailing, but she did not expect those people to be so eager to make a move. The carriage was smashed, and Gu Fei stood on the carriage without a carriage. His body did not emit the slightest fluctuation of yuan qi, as if he was an ordinary person without any cultivation. At this moment, more than 10 black-clothed men held weapons in their hands and charged fiercely at Gu Fei, who was standing on the carriage. Gu Fei stood proudly on the carriage with his hands behind his back. A light breeze blew past, causing his clothes and hair to flutter slightly. His expression was calm. He did not take these people seriously at all. Is this guy the king of the world of posers? Fatty was speechless when he saw this. In Fatty's eyes, Gu Fei's calm demeanor was undoubtedly showing off. A guy who could show off at any time, anywhere, was the king of posers. However, Fatty did not expect that Gu Fei did not care about showing off at all. Courting death. At this moment, Wang Zhan directly landed beside Gu Fei like a god descending from the heavens. He then grabbed the air with his right hand, and a saber on the ground immediately flew into his hand. Swoosh! Wang Zhan swung the saber in his hand in a circle, and a perfect circle of saber light immediately slashed out in all directions. Wherever the blade light passed, the dozen or so black-clothed men charging at Gu Fei were sent flying. Each of the black-clothed men's upper and lower bodies were directly separated from each other. What? The other black-clothed men were stunned seeing this. Wang Zhan killed more than a dozen black-clothed men with a single move. He stood beside Gu Fei, holding the saber in his hand, and glanced at the surrounding black-clothed men in a majestic manner. Divine state, it's the divine state. One of the black-clothed men suddenly exclaimed. So what? I'm also in the divine state. At this moment, a loud shout was heard, and a tall guy walked out from the forest. This guy was not dressed in black, and he did not have a black mask on his head. Instead, he had an animal skin tied around his waist, and his upper body was bare. He carried a huge saber on his shoulder. This guy had a ferocious face, fluffy hair, and a pair of big bare feet. He strode in big strides towards Gu Fei and Wang Zhan. His whole body was filled with murderous intent, as if he was a barbarian from the wilderness. He gave off an incomparably wild and ferocious feeling. Damn, where did this barbarian come from? Wang Zhan could not help but be shocked when he saw this guy. He could feel a dangerous aura from this guy. Little guy, you don't even know your grandfather, Wild King of the Black Deity Ridge. How can you survive in the underworld? The barbarian guy grinned at Wang Zhan. This guy did not even smile, but when he smiled, he suddenly became even more ferocious. Kill. More than a dozen soldiers directly charged towards Wild King. Ha ha! Wild King laughed loudly as he swung his saber horizontally, and the dozen soldiers were instantly cut in half at the waist. A bandit from the Black Deity Ridge? Chapter 57:22. The Black God Ridge was a famous place in the Dongyue Empire. The Black God Ridge gathered the most powerful bandits in the entire Dongyue Empire. These people were all brave and ruthless. The Lord of the Black God Ridge was definitely an impressive figure to be able to gather all the unruly, vicious, and merciless fellows in the entire East Moon Empire. This Black God Ridge Lord was truly an extraordinary existence, because not only was the Black God Ridge Lord powerful, he was also mysterious. No one had ever seen his true appearance, and no one knew if the Black God Ridge Lord was a man or a woman. The fact that the people of the Black God Ridge suddenly appeared to attack Dongyue Shue's group shocked her. But so what? Although Dongyue Shui was surprised, she was not worried. The Black God Ridge was just a motley crew of bandits. In Dongyue Shui's eyes, these bandits were not worth mentioning at all. However, when Wild King of the Black God Ridge made his move, Dongyue Shui knew that he was not someone to be trifled with. He was actually a godly realm cultivator. The godly realm, be it the beginner or the peak, they were all real godly realm cultivators. Being in the godly realm, they could crush all cultivators below the godly realm. It couldn't be helped. This was the difference in cultivation level. Once the godly realm cultivator made his move, the soldiers that Dongyue Shui brought from Skyleap City were in trouble. Although they were all elite soldiers, they were still a mess against a godly realm cultivator. They could only be tortured. Boom. Wild King was extremely wild. He swung the machete in his hand, and an extremely sharp saber chi immediately rushed out from the machete. It instantly soared hundreds of meters, and directly slashed at the carriage that Gu Fei and Wang Zhan were in. Wherever the saber chi passed, people and horses were thrown off their feet. Anyone or anything that was in its way was directly split in half. The power of this slash could only be described as killing gods and demons. Meanwhile, Gu Fei stood indifferently on the carriage. He had no intention of making a move. Wang Zhan sneered and stood in front of Gu Fei. Then, he threw a punch at the sharp saber chi. The violent fist force turned into a ferocious tiger. The fist force was like a tiger, and its power could be considered terrifying. One had to know that Wang Zhan wasn't someone to be trifled with. He had been painstakingly trained by Gu Fei's divine sense. What kind of ferocious fellow hadn't he seen before? Buzz. The air trembled as the two forces collided. Wang Zhan's fist, which had transformed into a ferocious tiger, was split into two halves. However, at the same time that Wild King's sword energy split the ferocious tiger in half, the sword energy was also neutralized by Wang Zhan's fist energy. The first fight between the two immortal realm warriors seemed to be a tie. However, Wild King of the Black God Ridge narrowed his eyes when he saw this scene. Others might not be able to tell, but Wild King knew. On the surface, it looked like a draw. However, Wild King was using a large machete. Although the machete did not look like much, it was a true divine weapon. As for Wang Zhan, he used his fists. This was the difference. If both of them used their fists, the outcome would be unpredictable. Interesting. Fatty laughed from afar. Wang Zhan's improvement was beyond his expectations. This fellow seemed to be improving every day. This kind of cultivation speed was really shocking. With Wang Zhan's cultivation speed, it would not take long for him to break through to the middle stages of the immortal state. This was also the reason why Fatty looked at Wang Zhan differently. Moreover, Wang Zhan's sister had the rare celestial body of extreme yin. This kind of body was a natural talent in the cultivation world. Even those super sects would be jealous of her. Fatty had his eyes on Wang Zhan's sister, the great bandit of the Black God Ridge. What a big name, but it seems that he is just us. Wang Zhan stood proudly on the horse carriage, blocking in front of Gu Fei. He stared coldly at Wild King, who was dragging his machete and approaching him step by step. Hee, is that so? Wild King grinned as he stomped on the ground with his right foot. His whole body leaped up from the ground and directly arrived above Wang Zhan. Then, he slashed down with his machete. This time, it was not saber chi, but a real machete. Wild King's power was unparalleled and incomparably wild. This time, the power of his machete was much stronger than the previous one. It was as if he could even split a sacred mountain in half with his machete. One fist to break the limit. Wang Zhan continued to throw a punch. The instant his fist punched out, it actually started to shine with a dazzling golden light, as if it had been forged from refined gold. All the power of the fist was concentrated on Wang Zhan's right fist, without a single bit of it leaking out. Wild King's pupils shrank. With his cultivation level, he could naturally see the power of Wang Zhan's fist. The power of the fist was not released, but once it exploded, it would definitely be earth-shattering. You want to use your fist to block my machete? Wild King grinned as he ruthlessly slashed at Wang Zhan's golden fist. Gu Fei, who was standing behind Wang Zhan, was still calm and collected. Although the power of Wild King's machete was strong, he was still incomparably calm. It was as if even if a sacred mountain collapsed in front of him, his expression would not change. Gu Fei had a lot of confidence in Wang Zhan. However, the onlookers were not optimistic about Wang Zhan's chances. One had to know that Wang Zhan's opponent was Wild King of the Black Deity Ridge. He was a ferocious person of the East Moon Empire. In the East Moon Empire, Wild King was an existence that caused people to turn pale at the mention of his name. However, everyone seemed to have forgotten that the Overlord of War God was also captured by Wang Zhan. Of course, at that time, Wang Zhan was still Gu Fei's doppelganger in the Unbounded Realm. Now, Wang Zhan was no longer Gu Fei's doppelganger. His battle experience, battle techniques, and even his experiences could not be compared to Gu Fei's. However, this was a secret between Gu Fei and Wang Zhan. In this world, only the two of them knew about it. Under everyone's shocked gazes, Wang Zhan's golden fist instantly collided with Wild King's machete. Clang! When the fist and the machete collided, the sound of metal clashing could be heard. Everyone felt that it was incomparably ear-piercing. The surrounding soldiers covered their ears and fell to the ground, screaming in pain. Even Dongyue Shuer, Fatty and the rest felt their ears buzzing. What? Wild King, who originally thought that he could kill Wang Zhan with a single slash, could not believe the scene in front of him. His opponent had actually used his fist to block his machete. He only felt a strong force exploding from his opponent's fist. It was unstoppable. Both of his hands trembled, and the hands that were holding the machete immediately became numb. Then, the machete actually flew out of Wild King's hands. Wild King felt as if he had been hit by a divine mountain. He flew out and crashed into the forest beside the main road. On the horse carriage, Wang Zhan still maintained his punching posture. His posture was extremely cool. Everyone who witnessed this scene was stunned. Just one punch, and he sent Wild King of the Black Deity Ridge flying with his machete. Chapter 57:23. Wang Zhan sent Wild King of the Black Deity Ridge flying with a single punch, shocking everyone. Wild King of the Black Deity Ridge was a ruthless man of his generation. In the East Moon Empire, he was someone who would turn pale at the mention of his name. However, such a powerful and ruthless man was actually sent flying by a single punch from Wang Zhan. Not only were countless soldiers stunned, but even Dongyue Shuer and Fatty were shocked. especially Dongyue Shui. She was the princess of the East Moon Empire and the most beloved daughter of the East Moon Imperial Lord. She knew that the East Moon Empire had once sent troops to attack the Black Deity Ridge. However, after a great battle, the army of the East Moon Empire was utterly defeated by the bandits of the Black God Ridge. They were utterly routed and returned in defeat. Even the East Moon Empire could not do anything to those ruthless people of the Black Deity Ridge. However, who would have thought that Wild King of the Black Deity Ridge would actually be defeated by Wang Zhan with a single punch? This did not mean that Wild King of the Black Deity Ridge was useless, but that Wang Zhan's battle prowess was too heaven-defying. Roar! Just as everyone was in shock, a roar came from the forest. The next moment, a powerful wave of yuan qi erupted from the forest beside the road. Countless trees were directly shattered by this wave of energy. Wood chips flew everywhere, and many people were hit by the wood chips. They screamed and retreated. An extremely wild figure rushed out of the forest and charged towards Wang Zhan. This person stretched out his right hand, and the machete that had fallen far away immediately flew back into his hand. His right hand, which was still bleeding, grabbed the machete. Kill! Without any hesitation, Wild King, whose hair was disheveled and mouth was bleeding, roared and slashed at Wang Zhan again. You're not done yet? Wang Zhan was furious. He could not retreat because his master was behind him. He could not let this guy scare his master. He stretched out his hand and grabbed the machete that was slashing at him. He still ignored the sharpness of the machete. His hand seemed to be cast from immortal divine iron, and when it collided with the blade, there was a sound of metal rubbing against each other. How is this possible? Wild King was really stunned. Why was this guy even more arrogant than him? He actually used his hand to grab his machete. Could it be that this guy's Taoist body was so strong that it could ignore a divine-level Tao tool? He had never met such a powerful Taoist body, because no one had ever dared to use their flesh and blood to resist his machete. The strength that Wang Zhan had displayed had truly exceeded his understanding. In the next moment, Wang Zhan's left fist landed heavily on Wild King's face. Wild King's face immediately bloomed. He screamed in pain as he let go of the machete in his hand and flew backwards. At this moment, the black-robed men actually began to retreat. You want to leave? Shui took out the East Moon bow and pulled the bowstring. An arrow of light immediately condensed on the bowstring. Swoosh! As soon as Shui loosened her grip, the arrow of light turned into a beam of cold light and shot out, piercing through the heart of a man in black who was about to retreat into the forest. The morale of Dongyue Shui's soldiers was greatly boosted, and they charged at the black-robed men with all their might. Wild King landed on the ground and knocked a few soldiers into the air. He then turned around and fled. To think that Dongyue Shui's team was filled with crouching tigers and hidden dragons, he had been careless. After being sent flying by Wang Zhan's 2 consecutive punches, Wild King had no choice but to flee. If he did not escape, the 3rd punch would really kill him. Even the ferocious bandits of the Black God Ridge treasured their lives very much. After all, they only had one life. If they were to die, everything would be over. Wild King did not want to die here. Wang Zhan saw that Wild King was about to escape and wanted to chase after him. Don't chase a cornered enemy, Gu Fei said calmly. Wang Zhan heard this and immediately retracted his right leg that had just stepped out. Yes, master. At this moment, Dongyue Shui continuously shot arrows of light, continuously killing the escaping black-robed men. Needless to say, Dongyue Shui's archery skills were really not bad. 1 arrow for 1 person. In the blink of an eye, 7 to 8 black-robed men had been killed by her. Dongyue Shui saw that Wild King was about to escape and immediately shot an arrow at him. Damn it! Wild King was enraged. He hurriedly dodged, but the arrow was like lightning. A flower of blood bloomed on his left shoulder. He then staggered and fell to the ground, swallowing a mouthful of mud. He leapt up from the ground with all his might and plunged straight into the forest beside the road, quickly disappearing far away. Little girl, if I don't take revenge for this, I am not a man. Wild King's angry roar could be heard from afar. Hearing this, Dongyue Shui's face turned pale. It was not a good thing to be remembered by a godly state fella. Moreover, this fellow was a bandit of the black deity rich. She glanced at Fatty beside her. Why are you looking at me? Fatty also looked at Dong Yushuer. I say, you have received benefits. You should help me no matter what. Dong Yushuer said in annoyance. The reason why she was so confident and wanted to return to the imperial capital in glory and slap the new empress in the face was because she had invited Fatty, a person who was not even afraid of an infinite prime. On that day, when the infinite prime came to Black Qilin City, only Wang Zhan and Fatty could still stand, facing the might of the supreme existence. That scene had been deeply imprinted in Dong Yushuer's mind. It was too shocking. That was the supreme existence of the infinite prime, the most powerful existence in the infinite realm. Once the infinite prime appeared, all living beings would bow down. Those who were not afraid of the pressure of the supreme existence were naturally not ordinary people. After receiving benefits from you, I will naturally protect you. With me here, no one can touch you. Fatty patted his chest and said. He continued, I only promised not to let anyone touch you, but I never agreed to be your fighter. Dong Yushuer was speechless. Dragon Elephant Man, Yang Yunfei, do a head count and organize the troops. Dong Yushuer ordered Dragon Elephant Man and Yang Yunfei. Although she couldn't order Fatty around, she could order her subordinates around. Yes, Your Highness. Dragon Elephant Man and Yang Yunfei accepted the order and began to do a head count. Those masked men in black had already escaped. Those who could not escape were directly killed by Dong Yushuer soldiers, and those who were not completely dead were killed. He couldn't be soft-hearted towards these vicious and evil fellows. Master, I will have the carriage repaired immediately. Wang Zhan was extremely respectful in front of Gu Fei. Forget it. There's no need to go through so much trouble. Just find me a mount. Gu Fei waved his hand and said, This yes. Wang Zhan said and retreated. Wang Zhan did not dare to be negligent when his master wanted a mount. But after looking around, the best mount in the team was the horned fire tiger that Dong Yushuer was riding on. Your Royal Highness, my master wants a mount. Give your mount to my master. Wang Zhan went straight to Dong Yushuer. What? Dong Yushuer was immediately displeased. He wanted her to give her mount to that sickly man. Chapter 57:24. Just because the disciple was powerful did not mean that the master was necessarily powerful. Some people did not have much cultivation, but the disciples they taught were extremely powerful. Their cultivation and battle prowess far surpassed that of the master. Something like this had happened before in the Limitless Sword Sect. There was such an unconventional existence in the Limitless Sword Sect. That person's cultivation in the way of the sword was really a mess, but the disciples he taught were each more powerful than the last. They were all famous experts of the way of the sword in the East Pole. His eldest disciple had even broken through to the saint realm and became a sword saint of the infinite sword sect. However, his cultivation was still in the earth realm. This was a huge rumor in the cultivation world of the infinite realm. In Dong Yushuer's eyes, Wang Zhan's talent was too heaven-defying, so his cultivation improved by leaps and bounds. Meanwhile, her master was easily injured by someone. It was obvious that the disciple was stronger than the master. In the cultivation world, strength was everything. Dong Yushuer thought highly of Wang Zhan, but she did not take his sickly master seriously. Dong Yushuer did not know that she had lost a chance to make the East Moon Empire soar. Once an opportunity was missed, it would never come again. What made Dong Yushuer very angry was that Wang Zhan actually wanted her to give her mount to his sickly master. Are you out of your mind? You actually want me to give my mount to your master? Dong Yushuer's expression immediately turned cold. Furthermore, my mount isn't something that just anyone can tame. If anyone wants to tame my mount, they'll have to first see if they have the ability to do so. Dong Yushuer sneered. Her mount was a horned fire tiger. This horned fire tiger was originally the mount of the Skirich City Lord. In order to curry favor with Dong Yushuer, the Skirich City Lord gave the horned fire tiger to her. The horned fire tiger was a ferocious beast in itself. Moreover, it was at the peak of the heaven realm. Ordinary people would not be able to get close to it. Dongyue Shui could control the horned fire tiger because she had the beast taming seal of the horned fire tiger. As long as the beast taming seal was in Dongyue Shui's hands, the horned fire tiger would obediently listen to her, not daring to resist. You don't have to worry about that. You just have to hand over the horned fire tiger to me. Wang Zhan frowned when he saw the disdainful expression on Dongyue Shui's face. A heaven realm cultivator dared to treat his master with disdain? Wang Zhan didn't say anything. Haha, does that master of yours have the qualifications to sit on my mount? Dongyue Shui laughed angrily. Tisk, it's just a heaven realm beast. What can it do? Wang Zhan said coldly. You must have my mount. Dongyue Shui stared coldly at Wang Zhan, her expression darkening. She was starting to feel displeased. Yes, Wang Zhan didn't want to waste words with Dongyue Shui. Dongyue Shui was enraged. Wang Zhan, don't you know what's good for you? You should know who you are now. Scram. Wang Zhan had been suppressing his anger for a long time. His sister and mother had been secretly sent away by Dongyue Shui. He didn't even know where they were locked up. Thinking of this, Wang Zhan gritted his teeth in anger. One must know that the most important family he had in this world were only his mother and sister. Dongyue Shui dared to have designs on them. This had crossed Wang Zhan's bottom line. It's simple if you want me to scram. But before that, please tell me where my mother and sister are. I'll be eternally grateful. Wang Zhan also stared at Dongyue Shui with a solemn expression. Wang Zhan, oh Wang Zhan, you're destined to never escape from my grasp. Dongyue Shui suddenly laughed. As long as she had these two trump cards, Wang Zhan would have to listen to her obediently. Wang Zhan was furious. He stretched out his right hand and grabbed at Dongyue Shui, who was on the horned fire tiger. Dongyue Shui immediately felt her body tighten. She was wrapped up by an invisible force and flew towards Wang Zhan involuntarily. Wang Zhan, you. Dongyue Shui was shocked. She did not expect Wang Zhan to attack her. Roar. The horned fire tiger Dongyue Shui was riding roared and pounced at Wang Zhan. A gust of wind immediately filled the air. This was a ferocious tiger at the peak of the heavenly realm. The power of its pounce was not to be underestimated. Its claws were so sharp that they could pierce through stone and metal. Scram. With a kick, Wang Zhan sent the ferocious heavenly beast flying, smashing it into the forest beside the road. Boom. A ball of fire exploded in the forest, and a large area of the forest was directly burned to ashes by this ball of fire. The horned fire tiger's body burst with terrifying divine fire, causing a wave of heat to spread out. The surrounding people hurriedly retreated. This was a heavenly beast. Not everyone was as amazing as Wang Zhan. Wang Zhan grabbed Dongyue Shui by the neck and lifted her into the air. The people around them were all shocked to see this. Your Royal Highness, Longxiang Man and Yang Feiyun rushed over. Wang Zhan, are you crazy? Wang Zhan, let go of her Royal Highness. Longxiang Man and Yang Feiyun roared at Wang Zhan at the same time. If anything happened to Dongyue Shui, they would die with her. At this moment, all the warriors drew their weapons and surrounded them, especially the dozens of subordinates Dongyue Shui subdued in Black Qilan City. They stared at Wang Zhan because Dongyue Shui had placed a seal on them. If Dongyue Shui died, they would die with her. If I die, you will never see your mother and sister again. Dongyue Shui looked at Wang Zhan, whose eyes were red. She was truly afraid. Brother Wang, just scare her. Don't be serious. At this moment, Fatty also spoke. He had received benefits from Dongyue Shui after all. He could not let Wang Zhan bully her under his nose. If I want to kill you, it will be as easy as crushing an ant. Wang Zhan waved his right hand and threw Dongyue Shui away. Yang Feiyun hurried forward to catch her, but she was only a half-step heaven realm. How could she catch Dongyue Shui, who was thrown by Wang Zhan? The two of them rolled on the ground, covered in dust, and looked extremely pathetic. You better protect my mother and sister. Otherwise, you know the consequences. Wang Zhan looked at Dongyue Shui, who was getting up from the ground. He did not expect their relationship to turn out like this. Did he change, or did Dongyue Shui change? Sigh. He could not help but sigh. Roar. At this moment, The horned fire tiger that was kicked away by Wang Zhan roared. It leaped from afar and pounced at Wang Zhan. Evil creature. Wang Zhan waited for the flaming tiger to pounce on him before he dashed forward. He extended his right hand and grabbed the flaming tiger's head, smashing the flaming tiger's head to the ground. Bang! Dust flew everywhere. Wang Zhan smashed the fire tiger's huge head into the ground and pressed it down. The horned fire tiger roared and scratched with its claws, creating 2 huge pits on the ground. If you don't behave, I'll kill you and roast you, Wang Zhan said coldly. In the next moment, the fierce tiger quieted down and did not dare to move. This horned fire tiger was a peak heaven realm heavenly beast. It had long gained sentience. Master, this disciple could only find such a mount. I hope Master will not blame this disciple. Wang Zhan came before Gu Fei and bowed carefully. The incomparably ferocious single-horned fire tiger was currently following behind Wang Zhan like an extremely obedient cat. Chapter 57-25. Wang Zhan actually snatched Dongyue Shue's mount in front of everyone. This was a public slap to her face, causing her to lose face in front of all her subordinates. However, the fist was the law. Wang Zhan did not care whether Dongyue Shui would lose face or not. If not for his scruples, Wang Zhan would have been even more ruthless. Fatty was just a bystander at this moment. He did not stand up for Dongyue Shui because he had only promised to protect her. He was not one of her hired thugs. Dongyue Shui, whose mount was snatched by Wang Zhan, could only find a black dragon colt to ride on temporarily. When Dongyue Shui saw Wang Zhan give her horned fire tiger to his sickly master, she sneered. The horned fire tiger was a peak heaven realm fierce beast, which was also known as a heavenly beast in the limitless realm. Heavenly beasts were not so easy to subdue. Even if it was Dongyue Shui, if she did not have the beast taming seal, she would probably be eaten by the heavenly beast the moment she got close. Such heavenly beasts were not to be trifled with, and the horned fire tiger's beast taming seal was in her hands. Dongyue Shui was waiting for Gu Fei to make a fool of himself. Fatty looked at the gloating Dongyue Shui and could not help but shake his head. He was also happy to watch the show from the side. Having a show to watch was always more interesting than not. The beast taming seal was a method of controlling powerful fierce beasts in the limitless realm. With the beast taming seal in hand, the fierce beast's life or death was at the mercy of the fierce beast's master. Earth realm, heaven realm, god realm, and even sage realm savage beasts. As long as they were captured and a beast taming seal was planted on them, there was only one outcome. They would be at the mercy of their master. Savage beasts at Earth realm and above had already developed intelligence that was not inferior to humans. These savage beasts did not want to die. Therefore, the controlled savage beasts could only obey orders obediently. Of course, these savage beasts did not listen to anyone's orders. Every subdued savage beast would have a beast taming seal, which sealed a wisp of the savage beast's life soul. If the savage beast angered its master, the master would destroy the imperial beast seal and the savage beast would die. The one-horned fire tiger did not dare to be impudent in front of Wang Zhan. But this savage beast was after all a heavenly beast. How could it be willing to become the mount of a sickly man? At this moment, Gu Fei had completely restrained his aura. He was like an ordinary person with no cultivation at all. Sigh, there was no other way. Gu Fei was pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger again. Master, please get on the horse, No, please get on the tiger, Wang Zhan said respectfully. Disciple is considerate. When I have time, I will give you a few pointers. Gu Fei nodded his head in satisfaction. Then, he mounted the tiger. This disciple was not lazy at all. This was the benefit of having a disciple. Just as Gu Fei mounted the one-horned fire tiger, the one-horned fire tiger beneath him immediately roared in a low voice. Haha, there's going to be a good show. In the distance, Dongyue Shui was gloating as she prepared to see Gu Fei being thrown off the horse by the one-horned fire tiger. It should be the miserable scene of him falling off the tiger. Be good. Since you and I have met, it can be considered fate. When we reach our destination, I will give you an opportunity. As Gu Fei said this, He rubbed the one-horned fire tiger's head. "Tch, he's just a sickly man, and he dares to say that he will give someone an opportunity? Does he think he is a supreme infinite prime?" In the distance, Dongyue Shui could not help but sneer. She was very disdainful. Giving a savage beast a great opportunity just like that? What a joke. Even the fatty at the side did not think much of it. After all, an opportunity was not something that could be given casually, and not everyone had the ability to do so. Just as Dongyue Shui was waiting to see Gu Fei make a fool of himself, the sound of something shattering suddenly came from her body. After Gu Fei rubbed the one-horned fire tiger's head, the heavenly beast actually became obedient. At this moment, Dongyue Shui looked at the beast-taming seal in her hand that had shattered into 7 or 8 pieces, dumbfounded. How is this possible? Dongyue Shui could not even speak properly. She turned her stiff neck and looked at the one-horned fire tiger under Gu Fei, only to see that it was also staring at her. The gazes of a human and a tiger collided in the void. Dongyue Shui's hand trembled in fear, and the beast-taming seal fragments fell from her hand. This was a heavenly beast at the peak of the heavenly realm, and Dongyue Shui was only at the beginning stage of the heavenly realm. To be targeted by an uncontrollable heavenly beast, and one that was at the peak of the heavenly realm at that, was definitely not a good thing for Dongyue Shui. Dongyue Shui retracted her gaze, her heart thumping wildly, and she broke out in a cold sweat. She had originally wanted to see Gu Fei make a fool of himself. Who would have thought that Gu Fei, who was riding on the back of the horned fire tiger, would not only not be overturned by the horned fire tiger, he even had a somewhat romantic and elegant bearing. Instead, she was the one who was shocked. And how did he do it? To actually be able to remove the beast-taming seal on the one-horned fire tiger, this was not something that ordinary people could do. Fatty, who was watching coldly from the side, stared at Gu Fei, who was riding on the one-horned fire tiger, and stroked his chin. His eyes were deep, and no one knew what he was thinking. Gu Fei, who was riding on the one-horned fire tiger, smiled slightly. Everything was under his control, and all the actions of these people were under his observation. Gu Fei thought to himself, "These two want to see me make a fool of myself? Dream on." He could not make a fool of himself, no matter what. At this moment, the corpses were being collected, the broken carriages were being thrown away, the injured horses were slaughtered, and the injured soldiers were being treated by the doctors, and their lives were not in danger. The soldiers under Dongyue Shui were all busy. However, the air was still filled with the smell of blood. They temporarily set up a pot to cook, started a fire to roast meat, and continued their journey after eating and drinking. Those guys are really ambitious. At this moment, a few people in black stood on a mountain in the distance. Exactly, they were just attacked by the Black God Ridge bandits, and they actually roasted meat and cooked rice on the spot. They can really eat it. One of the men in black echoed, "Junior sister, do you want me to sneak in and add some food to them?" Another man in black asked, "Forget it, if we kill them now, what's the point of watching the show?" The woman in black shook her head and said, "This." The two men in black behind the woman in black couldn't help but be startled. The mission to kill Dongyue Shui was a big one, and if they completed it, they would be able to live a good life. Those in the Dongyue royal capital who did not want to see Dongyue Shui return to the royal capital had joined forces to issue a mission on the Eastern Dark Roll, and this mission was Dongyue Shui's life. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.